Just kidding. Welcome to Defense Diaries. I am your host, Bob Mata, and it is an effed up Friday true crime roundup night. A lot of stuff on the docket. We're going to try to cover a bunch of stuff. It's all kinds of weird things going on, as always, in the true crime world. Today was particularly busy. This week was particularly busy. But in the last couple days, there's been a ton of stuff that has piqued my interest, and I think it'll probably pique yours too. You guys might be up to date on all of it, or maybe not. The hope is maybe not. There's some that's a little more lighthearted, and then other stories. Um, the first one, and Allie's going to be joining us soon. Hopefully, I think she's trying to get my papa fed. I started it. She's finishing it because I had to run up and get the live started. Boop, there she is. What's up, girl? All
Hi.
right. Yeah, I think I decided I think that's bigger. Um, all right. So I think we're gonna start, babe. Welcome, first of all.
Hi.
You look glorious and beautiful per always.
Thanks.
How was your week, babe? How was your week?
It was wonderful. Amazing. How was yours?
It's all right. It was
You
okay.
know.
It was a decent week. It wasn't amazing. It wasn't terrible. It was kind of every day I get to hang with you is always like a little slice of heaven. So there's that.
Yes. And Happy New Year to
Yeah. Shout out to
anyone out there.
all our friends that may have celebrated over the past couple days. Allie made up a delicious batch of matzo ball soup, which we devoured a whole bunch. Like I ate way too many matzo balls, probably than is good for me. I wasn't even telling you how many matzo balls I was putting down. It was a lot. It was a
That's
lot. But
good.
our second oldest daughter is a huge fan of the matzo ball soup.
All the kids are. Are you kidding me?
They really well. Scarlett's not so much.
I mean, she didn't have any yet.
Well, you tried to feed her some matzo ball soup today, and she rejected you. I heard the I
She said,
heard
I
the
want it for
pain.
dinner. I'm like, it's dinner time.
I heard the pain in your voice when she turned it down. Like I mean, that's good because that means more for me. So that's all I have to say about that. All right, so we got a full docket. I don't want to keep you all night, and more
You
importantly,
don't? Shocking.
more importantly, I don't want to keep my wife on here all night.
Aw.
She has important Bikini Island shit to watch. I'm sure.
Oh my God.
Is that even a real show?
No.
That's like an amalgam of all the shows that you're what do they call those? Like, what do they call that?
Dirty secret. No.
No, yeah, it's
Guilty
in the
pleasure.
guilty pleasures, yeah.
Dirty
Uh,
secret, guilty pleasure.
okay, so the first thing I want to start out with is not what I'd consider a true crime story, but one of our beautiful humans here tagged me on a tweet this morning or an X, whatever the hell you call those things these days, about this girl on TikTok.
I'm
Um,
posting on X because I haven't yet, so let's see, maybe we're gonna get
oh, I
thousands
forgot.
of
I
people.
completely forgot to.
You did too?
Yeah,
What?
I was busy trying to put shit together, man.
Oh
It's like
my goodness, we're
you
the
think.
worst.
Well, I'm definitely the worst. The question is, will I make it through an entire live without speaking on mute? Like that's always I think the over under on that, if I had to put a line on it, is probably it's probably like minus 200. Like I think it's like I'm a heavy favorite at some point during this live to speak on mute. It's just what I do. It's what I do. All right. Okay, so this gal Katie Santry, you guys will probably, and I know like some of our peeps were like heavily invested in this, and I thought it would be kind of fun. It's more lighthearted, and it's
Well,
a master
especially
class.
now.
Well, yeah, that's part of what we'll talk about. But it is a master class on how to grow your TikTok account by about like 1.5 million in 2 days. When I got on this morning, and I cannot remember, and show yourself in the chat if you're the one who tagged me on, if you tagged me on the Twitter machine this morning. but like it sucks you in. And she had 1.4 million followers this morning at around 7:30 a.m. Bob would like to razz you, but I also have about 10 YouTubers who I follow religiously, and all of them every day, at least one time consistently leave themselves on mute.
But yeah, you win.
Yeah, no, it's like there's no denying it. There's no denying it. But like in the mic thing, I cured myself on that. So what you guys are supposed to be doing in Allie or Mandy, one of you, if I do it, you have to play a sound effect. It's like our safe word. Like if I'm speaking on mute, because I'm not looking at my phone and I'm not looking at the chat. So
See.
we'll pick a sound effect that will be like, oh, I'm on mute. So that it's a good idea. Somebody in the chat came up with it, per usual. You can always count on the chat. All right, so enough of that. So this gal, like I said, masterclass on how to grow your TikTok account in 2 days, from whatever to now she's going to be making.
That's what we'll play.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
Or I mean,
no,
I know.
The other one's me. That's actually me. So that's a me.
And
like
it's your son of a bitching yourself for being on mute.
Correct.
Went back to the circles.
Right. Exactly. All right. So let's start with the first one. We're gonna play through these things.
Sorry.
Wow.
It's
I think
like,
it's on a loop.
It's going, yeah.
It's on the loop. All right. So this first one starts out. This was the first one that got everything going for this woman, Katie Sanchery, who, by the way, as this thing was developing, I of course sent her a message on TikTok because she was like, "Oh, if this doesn't get me on a murder podcast, I don't know what will." I'm like, I hit her up. I'm like, "I got you. Like, I'm your guy." I had the whole, Lucy Studi digging bodies up in the wells. I'm trying to find Gacy victims. I'm a digger.
Let's see how it worked out for her. Let's go.
All right, wow. Enough of me building it up, I guess. All right.
I mean,
haunted and I'm freaking out. Like I'm literally shaking. This is my sunroom. This is where I work. I sit here every day. There's a playroom here, doors here. This is the space. I worked in here last night until about 6:30. Everything was fine. Shut my laptop. We close these doors.
You guys hear that?
Dogs don't come in here at night. No
I
one
just
is
turned
in
my
this room. I'm down this morning
volume
to
up,
work.
but it was turned down before.
Screen shattered. This stuff down here. This hanging
Now,
off.
I never asked how old are her kids,
for me
and
is that
does
this only
her
goes on this shelf and only
husband
goes
watch
on this shelf
porn
ever
in her office?
up here. Why? I've never put it there.
All right, so she has and I didn't dig into her too much because I'm not a creep, but it sounds like she has a stepson who I think is probably somewhere in the 7 to 10 range, maybe 6 to 10 range. I only saw like one time like he was on. And then I gather that's her stepson, and I think they have a baby. Her and her husband have a baby. So
I think her husband was watching porn, thought he heard her coming, jumped.
Wow.
Broke the computer. All his shit fell off the shelf. She puts it back in the wrong spot.
Wait, she puts it back in the wrong.
He puts it back in the wrong spot.
So wait, how do you think he breaks the screen? He's like slams it down so hard.
Or maybe, he's a real violent masturbator.
Wow. That's I mean, look, it's a theory.
There. I don't put it here. My phone sits there when I work. Why was that there? Here's the next bit of important information. So we're building a fence. Okay, so
Oh wait,
my house is haunted and I'm freaking
like
out.
fucking up.
This is my
That's the first one.
work. I sit here every day.
Okay, wait, but I want to get to where we were.
This is the space. I
It's fine.
Last night until about 6:30. Everything was fine. Shut my laptop. We close these doors. The dogs don't come in here at night. No one is in this room. I'm down this morning to work. Screen shattered. This stuff down here. This hanging off. But the fucking kicker for me is that that only goes on this shelf and only goes on this shelf ever up here. Why?
Thanks, Meg. You always give her.
My phone sits there when I work. I
love you.
Why was that there? Here's the next bit of important information. So we're building a fence, and back here we dug a hole. There is a rolled up carpet buried underground that we came across as we were digging this hole. Rolled up carpet. Who the fuck and why the fuck is there a rolled up carpet
Much
underground?
language.
My house is haunted and
on the TikTok.
I'm literally shaking. This is my sunroom. This is where I work.
Okay,
I sit here
that's
every
that.
day. There's a playroom here, doors here. This is this.
Oh, is that it?
I worked in here
Yes.
last night. It was
Okay.
about
All
6:30.
right. So let's
Everything was
see. Now
fine.
I
Shut
gotta.
my laptop. Okay, so a
There should
tree
be
was
two.
planted above the rug, and it is called a blood good because this was in the hole.
You know how sometimes they wrap the
A
bottom of a
blood good
tree
tree
with
on
like a
top
thing?
of a
Yeah.
fucking rug. Why?
Well, that could be it.
They do.
Okay,
You
so
mean
a
like the
tree
It
was
comes in a
planted
burlap
above
sack looking thing,
the
right?
rug,
That's what I was.
and it is
thinking.
called a blood good because this was in the hole.
Oh, we already watched it. Okay, so here's part 3.
How is he that? Is the door shut?
I mean that kind of looks like a rug.
How deep is that? Like at least 2 feet?
Almost, yeah.
Oh, right now.
So this is part 3.
I bet you it's deep a little bit.
Something
Here's-
that also
here's
feels
part 4.
important as a detail to let you know that I found to be so weird in this whole fiasco of did a ghost fuck my shit up last night. This morning, my stepson, I heard him call his dad in and say, hey, like this is so weird. When I went to bed, my phone was at 100% on the charger, and he woke up and it was at 3%. And now I have all these people saying that like ghosts steal energy, and that's like how they.
Oh Jesus!
shit
Shut
up.
the fuck up. You
And
serious?
what are the odds
mean,
that the same night that
That would
his phone
explain why your
just
phone's always
randomly
dead,
goes
though.
from 100 to 3% is the same night my computer gets broken and stuff gets moved around, all while
ooh.
digging up a potential dead body in my backyard.
All right.
I accidentally went viral for thinking my house is haunted, and I left you all on a cliffhanger, and I'm very sorry. Hi, my name's Katie, and this room right here, I think a ghost is angry at me because I went to bed and everything was fine. I come down the next morning, my desk is a disaster, and my computer shattered. First theory, so maybe someone tried to break in. No, our alarm was set. That did not happen. Second theory is that the carpet that happens to be 2.5 feet underground potentially holds a dead body. And, you know, that's kind of where I'm sitting because I can't get it out. The carpet is too big and too long. And yeah, it's just stuck there and it's going to stay there because we can't get it. I need an excavator. And it's digging into my fire pit, my stone fire pit. And I really like that area. And that's where we'd have to pretty much go to try to keep getting this rug out. And I'm not going to do it. So we're just going to pack that dirt right back down and hope that that little ghost isn't mad at me anymore and leaves my computer alone once I get it back from Apple. And yeah, lets it be. So I accidentally went viral for thinking my house is haunted.
Next,
and I left
babe.
you on a cliffhanger, and I'm very sorry. Hi. Okay, I finally did it. I called the police.
It's got the po-po
They're
on
sending
it.
someone here. I called and I said, hey, I don't know if this matters, but there is a rug buried underground at my house, a few feet under, and a few people I know, you guys, and actually 2 police officers who I know who are not actually in this county, but other counties have suggested I call you. And she told me she's going to send a police officer over here. So TBD. I don't know what happens next. Okay,
Go
I
for it.
finally did it.
Babe,
I called the
Oh,
police.
sorry. I'm trying to finish this tweet. Oh, there they are. The po-po. All right.
gotta
Now,
turn them
Spitfire
up.
said that it was all fake, but there is no turning it up. That's cranked.
Oh yeah, no, there's just something like weird.
Oh wait, maybe I can boost it.
So
well, now that was only to hear the cop.
first, the cops also think it's weird as fuck. And they were like talking about calling homicide. They were talking about how they'd have to get excavators out here.
But the
Like
cops
they
were
fully
fake
invested
too?
just as much as we all are.
That's
and
what
then he was like,
Spitfire
okay,
says.
let
She
me
thinks the whole
call
thing was a
my
fraud.
boss
But
Like
man,
she's
and we
actually
will
got
figure out what to
intel
do.
on that?
I was like, oh my God, they're gonna
Because that's
call
what I
homicide?
first said when this, I'm like,
That's
well, it's
literally my
Halloween.
only
Is this
true
like
crime.
well, that's what everybody was saying. It's like, oh, this is a clout grab. It's all bullshit. It's fake. Blah 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 blah.
Well,
it's
no,
what
I
you
was
can think
yeah.
until the cops show up,
right.
and then they bring cadaver dogs. I mean, if she
seemed really well. Let's keep playing. But I'm interested if
R.I.P.
Spitfire's just
Truly.
spitfiring or
R.I.P. But holy shit, would that not be kind of cool? Anyways, basically what was decided is that they cannot put resources into something that they don't know what it is. And it is up to me if I decide that I want to finish digging it out. And if there's something there, I can call them. And I'm sorry to leave it there, but that's going to be that, guys, because I cannot keep digging this
All
shit
right.
out. If someone has tools
Cops
and
went for
shovels
real.
and wants to come to my house in Columbus, feel free to help. Otherwise,
and then I was just saying, like, I
mystery
felt
remains.
her demeanor seemed legit. especially when we get to the later ones.
Yeah.
Next, babe.
Wait, no.
You guys
this
all keep
is-
telling me just to like go dig it out.
Oh.
It's not that easy, okay? It is so deep. Let me show you again.
It's like fucking 2 feet. Foot
That's
and a
pretty
half.
I'm saying
deep.
it's burlap.
Oh
It's
my
fucking
God.
carpet.
It's fucking burlap.
It's not. It was a carpet.
Yeah.
I think it goes back that way. Also, to everyone who's really fucking upset about us cutting down this tree, same. The cop also pointed out how expensive the tree is and that we destroyed it. I fucking know. It's not been a good day. Our theory is
Next,
that
babe.
they're gonna go home.
Oh, wait.
Back to the
Never
office.
mind. Sorry.
Do
No.
you guys want to come help me dig?
Did you have me shoot it too
Yeah.
early?
So all she
That's
said
on
in that
you.
one was like, she's hoping
home
that the
with us.
cops are going to go home and change their minds. Be like, you know what? We got to dig that rug up.
Oh shit. Here we
Oh,
go.
jeez.
Potentially. Yeah.
Fast forward to where she
I
was
can't.
saying.
I don't know how to do it.
You guys
Put
all
your
keep
little
telling me
mouth
just
over
like
Here we go.
back to the office
There you go.
and start
That's
looking
it.
up cold cases. And maybe there was something in the vicinity and they'll come knocking and they'll be like, actually, we've decided we want to dig that up. This was his idea. He came up with this one. And I think it could stick.
All right.
Do you
There
guys
we
want to
go.
come help me dig? Come on. Come home with us.
Maybe it ended up
Come on.
actually being a burlap sack,
Let's
so they
go
didn't
dig
want
a
to put it
hole.
on. That maybe it wasn't really a rug.
Let's go. We're back and we're digging.
Burlap. It's pretty deep down there.
You guys weren't ready for us to be done. You refuse to let it sleep. I have so many volunteers saying that they'll come and help us because, I mean, I may end up taking you up on that offer depending on how this goes, since the police did say this may require an excavator, and we don't have an excavator. Don't hate me because this is not going to get done tonight. It is not going to get done tonight.
Do it.
But we are starting
Do
the
it.
process. If this does happen to require volunteers, I expect all of you to show up and show out. And I saw a lot of people say that maybe they should have like sent a cadaver dog over here, and I think that would have been a great idea.
I mean, he went to work out that
Okay.
tree out.
Look at that. We're one
$1,000
step
tree.
closer. I know that pained the heart of you Japanese maple tree lovers, but we're going to get another one implanted. Don't worry. That didn't put in the dent that we were hoping it would, so we really may need more resources.
Damn it, my vape's dead.
Good morning. Millions of you who are invested.
Wow.
So-
See, this is her like Bailey
I
Syrian
did not
moment.
anticipate
She's
this
gonna
to
do
pop
her
off the way
makeup
that it
on
did.
like.
Honestly, the timing kind of sucks because I'm going out of town for work today. But holy shit.
Every time I
Update number
see
one, I do have
someone
people volunteering
Younger than me
to
do their makeup,
potentially
and they
bring
do this
an excavator
whole
of some
uh,
sort.
Tell us.
no, the highlighting shaping thing that they do. I'm like mesmerized. Like, wait, they put that really dark color on, then they blend it in, and it doesn't look like there was ever anything there.
Yeah. It's like
Why?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I've gotten sucked into like women doing their makeup shit where they come on like looking like a completely different human being than by the time they're done putting their makeup. I'm like, what? Like, are you the same person? It's like, dude, it is
Contouring. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sort. Fucking hell, the ruining of my yard that this will do just for the plot, just because. Okay, let's really think this through, guys. What are the odds that it's a dead body? They're probably low. Let's be honest, they're probably fucking low. What are the odds it's a bag of money? I don't know. I would like that better.
I agree,
I would
Patty.
prefer that over having to move. Alas, here we are, trying to dig this shit out for all of you and for me and for my
Like, I
ability
like
to
the
sleep.
personality
But
as
here
well,
is
that's
where
what
I'm
I
thinking
said.
I might need more of a psychic than an excavator. While the police were here yesterday, looking at the carpet and deciding what to do, he mentioned
See, there it is.
that he
That
was the one who came when
insanely
the
dark
next door
color.
neighbor died. My neighbor died in their house, and she can't haunt a house that is literally destroyed, right? Like, who
Oh,
the fuck is she gonna
here
haunt?
it is,
That's no
babe.
fun. That would be boring. Why not haunt the next door neighbor? The same day that my computer gets broken and my desk gets strewn about, they started boarding up the dead lady's house. It feels sus. It feels
Excavator.
like, hey, if they're going to board up my house, I'm just going to hop over to the next house and haunt them and fuck their day up. And they also just started digging up a rug. So like, this will be so fun. If I was a ghost and I was a dead lady who had no family, because the cop told me she also had no family, so she has no one better to haunt. I was her. I would haunt me. That would be fun. So anyways, yes, we will get this rug out. I swear to you, I promise we will. Secondly, are we now thinking potentially if the rug happens to not have a dead body, fingers fucking crossed, is it the neighbor? Is it my dead neighbor that died the day I moved into
So
this house?
are those
mind
like
you?
little
Dead
blips?
neighbor.
Is she
That was the
editing
day I
them
moved into this
and
house.
like
Yeah.
The
cutting?
day they're boarding
Yeah.
up her house, my computer gets shattered and she has no family. She has no one better to haunt. So I don't know. What are we thinking?
Those are all.
So
Those
I
are new
decided to
cuts.
do some virtual
She's
digging before
editing.
we dug up my yard anymore, and here's what I found. My house was built in
I say skip to the
1967,
end.
and from all the research I have done on the Franklin County Auditor site, before me, only one family has owned this home. So then obviously, I looked into the family, and they seem very nice, very normal.
I could
The house doesn't
summarize
seem
this
to have
whole
ever been
thing.
used as a rental. I talked to the next door neighbor who also agreed that the family was very kind, very normal. I've looked into the cadaver dog option, and from everything I've seen, the police have to order it. I have reached out to 4 different cadaver canine units in Columbus, Ohio, and they have all said that they cannot deploy dogs unless ordered by the police. We had
That's
the police
bizarre.
come. They came, they saw, they didn't give a fuck. When they gave a
Zero
ring-a-ling-a-ding to the
fucks
chief
given.
officer, he said, we are not deploying any resources. So here we land. There is a rug underground, but we don't know why. And honestly, we might never know why, because I've already destroyed a tree that's apparently worth $1,000, and I just can't do any more damage to my home without just cause. The only thing I can commit to is leaving it be. If someone comes to me with a canine dog, sure. If someone comes to me with ground penetrating radar, come on over.
For sure,
Or
just a blow.
if this psychic tomorrow tells me that the person who broke my fucking laptop is buried in the ground, then maybe. I do have a local excavator willing to come over. I just can't destroy my own property any further without a little bit more of a reason. So I did. The case may be coming to a close. I found the listing agent online. I called her. I said, hi, my name's Katie. I have a very strange thing to tell you. And I told her, and I said, do you have TikTok? And so here's what's
She's
happening.
like, I'm not going to tell
She
you.
happens to be
Hop on TikTok.
best friends with the daughter of the family who owned the home. So either this daughter, who knows, could potentially,
You could
be
skip
like,
this
oh no,
one.
there's not a body there.
Man,
We
it's
should
not
have answers.
her.
I told her exactly what tree. I told her where the rug
You
is. I
could
told her what was
skip these
happening.
couple
She is
about the
calling her as we speak.
calling the
And she's
parents.
gonna let me know. I sent her the TikTok. She's like, what in the hell is going on? I don't know, lady.
They're all pretty
And
short.
she just said, a dog?
Yeah.
But that deep? Guys,
Oh,
the case may be coming to a close. I found the listing agent online.
Oh,
I
you
called her. I
heard
said,
this
"Hi."
one.
I know.
But we should have answers. I told her exactly what tree. I told her where the rug is. I told her what was happening. She is calling her as we speak. And she's gonna let me know. I sent her the TikTok. She's like, what in the hell is going on? I don't know, lady. And she just said, a dog? But that deep and that long? We're all questioning it. Get the answers from the daughter. We should know soon. The case
Next.
may be coming. Guys, I was trying to wait until I had the actual answer because I keep getting messages of she's dragging this out. She's doing this for clout. Shut the fuck up. No, I'm not. I just don't know yet. Here is what I've got so far. The realtor has talked to the daughter. The daughter does not know what the rug is.
Bloop,
She
bloop.
also asked her about dead dogs and cats and hamsters. And she said they had many dogs and they were all cremated. So she does not think there is a buried dog. So what is going to happen next?
You've been doing it.
To drive her
And somebody
ass
said
to the
control
nursing home where her
something, but you
90
just
and
put your
95-year-old
mouse over
mother
the
and
thingy
father
and
live and
click.
berate them for
No,
the
every time I
answers
do that,
for
it's
us.
the video.
She's going to
Oh.
see what they know, and if they
Somebody
know
said, I
what
think
is in the
Control
rug and
W,
why
but I'm
the
not
rug is
J-Bo's
there.
in
I think
here.
the real estate agent
man.
that I was talking
that
to is
fool?
also highly invested.
Hey,
in
Jay.
this one. But at the end of the
Okay.
day, the daughter's got a job to do, and so she can't go to the nursing home until
All right,
tonight.
this one's boring.
So
Oh,
I'm sorry.
God.
I thought I was going to get a quick answer. I thought the daughter was going to be like, oh, yeah, for sure. We buried our dog, Harold, under that
And they
tree.
didn't.
Case closed. Dunzo.
Okay, I'll
Okay.
skip that one.
Now
Okay.
this one's where it starts to dig.
Fine. We're going to dig. We're going to fucking dig
Oh, no, this
tomorrow at 4:30. My last call ends at 4:15. I have 2 friends coming over. We're going to fucking dig, okay? Okay. We're going to dig. I talked to the realtor again. I said,
Next.
hey, did you hear anything? And she said, I haven't heard back. The parents are quite elderly. They are in their 90s. I was like, I'm so sorry. We're just going to dig. So don't worry about it. Ignore me. Sorry to bother you. I'm so embarrassed. we're just going to dig because I know, here's what I know. Here's what I know.
I'm going to go
If
charge
I
my
post
vape.
anything
Oh my God.
after this,
I lost
and I don't
Allie.
resolve it for all of you, you're never going to let me live it down. I could post a pregnancy announcement. I could post a get ready with me and talk about skincare. And you'd be like, shut the fuck up. What's in the rug? I know that. I know that about all of you. I've learned that through this interaction the
I know
last
it,
few days.
brother. I know
So we're
it.
going to dig. And we're going to see what we find at 4:30 tomorrow. Okay? My plan, guys, I went from hard labor to hard liquor because I will now be the cheerleader for the dig, brought to you by HDL Construction in Hilliard, Ohio.
Wow.
Obviously, we will stream this live, and then there will be a final reveal video posted. And so tune in if your heart desires. 4:30 EST. That is when the crew will be here. That is when we will start digging. I was actually just out at the hole because People Magazine
The
needed some
hole.
pictures. And like,
Oh my God.
I truly can't tell which direction it goes. I'm
Jay, you know who else was out at the hole? That's right.
Bobby was out at the hall.
Your mom.
Yours was
so
much more
curious.
interesting.
I'm so curious. I appreciate all of your lack of fucking patience throughout this process. It's been fun. And if the rug, fingers crossed, is bodiless, I still want to know who is haunting me and broke my computer and threw my desk around in the middle
It's
of the night.
the
So
nighttime
personally, for me,
masturbator.
even once this rug is out, my journey is not done. I'm actually thinking I'm going to have like a meeting or something come over here. Honestly, it's been fun. This has been a fun journey. I've enjoyed going on it with you. Some of you will leave me afterwards, and that's fine. You can write off the rest of you. I'm excited for what's ahead. I've got a lot of cool ideas. Oh
Next.
my God. Okay. I just got off the phone with Homicide. They just called me. They are sending detectives and cadaver dogs here in the next hour. Oh my God. I saw my phone ringing and it said Columbus Police. I said, this is fucking weird. I answered the phone. He says, hi, this is Detective Corn Nuts. I don't know what his name was. I forgot. I started to black out. We heard about your situation, and I don't know why the police, I don't know who they called, but they did not call Homicide because we want to come. We want to take a look at this rug. He said, if the dogs do note something, your house is about to become a fiasco.
Jay, were you working?
For anybody. Oh, sorry. Get it.
Are you aware of this chick, dude, Jay? Like
I'm going to tell the quick summary just in case. Keep it quick. So this woman, she thought her house was
the ending.
I'm not. Duh.
Okay.
We just did all of this.
Okay.
We're almost there.
Yeah.
This woman woke up. All the shit in her computer was broken. Shit in her office was scattered about. She's convinced that their house is haunted. And at the same time, they find a rug buried several feet in the backyard and tried to get the cops came out. They were like, oh, this is very bizarre. But then the department was like, no, we're not investing any funds in this. So she's been talking about how she's been trying to dig out the rug and trying to figure out the mystery. Is there a dead body? And now she's telling us this.
That's right. Good job, babe.
Okay.
And like the main point, Jay, is when somebody like tagged me on a tweet. And this morning she had 1.4 million.
I like her. I like her personality.
I do too. I think she's like, I mean, like
some people find it annoying.
in the like I could see how she'd rub some people the wrong way. She's young and excited. This is like a fucking weird situation. I had a very similar situation to this where like in the moment I was like TikTok famous in like Green Hollow, Iowa. It was insane. Like the whole thing, like, hey, there's TikTok guys. People buying me meals and shit.
All right, play. People want to know what's happening. It's just getting exciting.
And I said, I would assume such. So yeah, within the next hour, Homicide, detectives, and cadaver dogs are going to be here in my backyard. And he said, as long as they do not note to human remains, then we can proceed with the dig at 4:30 p.m. EST. Oh my God. Okay, what I'm learning is that I should probably give it a good 5 minutes before I come onto TikTok and let you know the update, because I don't mean to string you along, but you are living this with me in real time, moment to moment. Here we are. The Sniffy dogs, they have a job to do. They're currently working on another unaliving somewhere else, and they cannot be here now until 5 o'clock. The detectives are going to get here at 4:30, set the scene for the dogs to come and do their job. They're going to come, they're going to do a little snifferoo. And if they hit, my house becomes FBI property and a crime scene. And we start a Schmurder podcast. If they don't,
Schmurder.
I say,
Allison,
that is
we
the
were
end of
watching
the
this morning.
story.
She's like Schmurder. Like, she didn't want to say the murder word.
We let the sleeping.
Oh, what I
dog,
said
cat,
was, what's a
hamster, whatever it may
Schmurder
be,
podcast?
lie, RIP, construction debris, whatever it can be, we just leave it. Because if it's not a body, that was really the main concern here. That's how all this started. And if the dogs do their job, and I'm sure they're well trained, and they say, nope, all good here, we just leave the rug. I know you've all invested your time, energy, and attention, and I much appreciate that. But we will have the final answers when the homicide detectives and the schmurdery dogs get here. The detectives are here. They've arrived. Some of them are in suits. They've got bags, backpacks, equipment. They're here. Okay. I am
So this is the one
to
pause
have
it a
left you
sec.
hanging all night.
This is the one where there's no doubt that she wasn't faking, like she's actually feeling the weight of it.
Yeah, you can see that it's like it's becoming like a real thing for her,
right.
because it's like law enforcement's taking it seriously. They're
Well,
like,
go ahead, let's play it. They'll see why.
Okay.
Right? But my whole house is now caution taped off. If you were not watching the live, both dogs sat on the hole. So the dogs run separately. So the first dog came out and the dog sat, and audible gasp, absolute fucking shock. I thought that this was the end of everything today, and the second dog comes out, sniffs around, and sat. I will splice the video together, but I still have reporters at my house. Cops are staying here overnight. Crime scene investigators come tomorrow and start to dig. And that's all I know right now, essentially. This has taken a fucking twist. And if I don't get on a murder podcast after this, I'm going to be pissed. I'm not trying to make a joke out of it, but I started crying on the live, and
that's right when I started
out.
messaging her.
And this is how I handle things. Dark humor. So if anything, my hope is still that maybe this is just a bloody carpet, that someone got a bloody nose or scraped
on one with this.
But if somehow this ends up being more than that, and we are able to bring closure, first off, this wouldn't have happened without TikTok. I was not going to do this myself. I have guilt now that I wasn't going to do this on my own. This is only happening because of all of you little sleuths and impatient little bitches, as I said.
Not today.
Little
push me to do this. So as insane as this is, if what is potentially going to happen happens and there ends up being some form of crime here, I appreciate you. And I will put together an actual video from the moment and figure out how to splice together parts of my live when the dog sat. But for now, I feel bad that you hadn't been updated. So here it is. I'm going to stop talking because I'm rambling. Okay. I am so sorry to have left you hanging all day.
Wait, is it the same one?
All night.
Yes.
But okay. So I'm sitting outside with my friends who were actually the ones that were here for the dig party and trying to decompress from everything that's happened. My anxiety is so high, and
I didn't even see this one.
I cried on TikTok live with 100,000 people, and I'm going to insert here the video of the dogs marking. It was already on live, and that's why I'm basically going to share everything that is already out there in the world. And then anything that happened essentially after the police told me to turn off the camera,
starting to give the end here
will
already.
remain in the hands of the law. They will be here tomorrow to dig. And yeah, but here is the video of the dogs hitting.
I thought this dog was taking a big shit when I saw it. I was watching. I'm like, wow, that dog's taking a big steamer. I was like, wow. I'm like, oh, this other dog's shitting too. Shitting. So that's I've never seen dogs that sit when they're alerting.
My God.
We don't watch the alert.
Oh
I've
my
watched
God.
plenty of videos with dogs alerting.
Oh, videos. I see.
So that is the dogs hitting.
I think
both
we go
dogs
to the
hitting on
end.
hole. And basically from
What?
there, everything went to fucking shit.
It
I
all went to shit,
was
babe.
terrified, losing my mind. I
You're
started to cry.
terrified,
I asked
losing their mind.
the cops if I need a lawyer. They are very aware that I'm the one who called.
I need a lawyer.
And they have no concerns that it was me. So if there's anyone sitting here thinking I did this, I certainly did not.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm pretty sure she did it.
And tomorrow, crime scene investigators will
Did
be
you
here.
do it? Did he
digging.
do it?
You're being arrested.
And
We're taking you into custody,
they said
man.
that there's still
for
a chance that this
a whole
rug just
fraud
could have
in
blood
law
on it. It
enforcement.
doesn't necessarily mean there is a body in my backyard. This could be someone got a bloody nose. It could be anything. So, but this is where we're at. I'm still in shock. And
People told her to tone it down.
yeah,
She's
this
too
is where we're
excited.
at.
Next.
Yeah, I don't know.
Wait, next.
What?
I don't know.
This is a long one.
We don't need this one. Nobody
Wait,
needs
what?
this one.
Let's see. I'll fast forward. Talking.
I say there was nothing and not a big deal. So I did ask the police if they need a lawyer when the dogs alerted.
Babe, go to the last one.
There's
What?
121.4
What?
thousand people that just watched two dogs, both
Nobody wants this anymore.
on.
Wait. You think we're all bored of this?
Yeah, well, only because I know the end.
I know. Like you'd be like you were sitting there like
I didn't. I never saw all these.
Didn't say a word. I'm talking about the 20 we watched this morning.
Right, but I didn't
We're
see any of
invested.
these.
I mean,
All right. So that's the reporter. More
Hi,
makeup.
TikTok. I feel like I just went from the most normal ass person to not. So here's what's going on. I'm pretty sure everyone's up to date on the latest. CSI is going to be here soon to dig. And I'm like personally feeling like this is so crazy because while there's like two huge things happening simultaneously that are also related but unrelated. And that would be the fact that I just went to over 1 million followers when a week ago I had 6,000.
Wow.
So that's crazy just to know that there's that many eyes on me. And
They're all watching you.
Watch on, I'd probably tell you my heart rate was in the millions right now. And I'm still shaking. I didn't go to bed till 4 a.m. Good God, dressed in the dark.
Yeah. There you go. Long story short.
Thing there. And someone has to see that, you know, as a relative or, you know, I just.
All right.
Okay. So.
All right. This is the one.
Here. There's a tent set up and there's.
Oh, no, this isn't the one.
9
Jesus.
Close.
police officers and CSI in the backyard.
You can see that
I'll show you. They've blocked how
this is
far I'm allowed to even
Kraken's
go.
little post
And
and give you guys all a summary of what you missed.
They're bringing equipment in now. So they put this up outside so that I cannot get any further. They've got a tent.
We did not talk about Delphi yet.
Bringing in a bunch of stuff.
We've not spoken about Delphi yet.
I thought this was going to take like 6 minutes.
This was serious business here. Serious police business. They have the pop-up up. Easy up. Hey, get the easy up.
Here and missing persons. And now CSI is bringing the shovels out.
Listen, we're gonna need shade. Bring the easy up and get it installed
I can't go any
immediately.
further from than here. And I can see news cameras set up over there.
We're still on the same chick.
Okay, they're digging. They've been digging.
Is this the same one or
And there's,
Yes.
some of them.
I'm saying anything to
are
get you to
in
go to
the
the next one.
I went
Why
I
you
could see
lying
the
on
window so that I could freaking watch.
Hmm.
And we still don't know anything. The dogs could have had a bad day, had an off scent. The wind, the rain, who knows? They told me that all the rain that Ohio's had from
Babe, go to the last one.
can like
What?
reinvigorate
This has been
smells.
too much.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay, and we have an excavator trying to not break my fence, which would be greatly appreciated, making its way over to the hole. Guys.
All right, I'm going to tell you right now.
You're not going to give him the answer, are you?
No, this girl pretending, this lady pretending like she's not rooting for there to be a body in that rug is so full of shit. Like you talk about like somebody told her to reel it in.
Right.
She did, but I guarantee you she is absolutely positively rooting for a body to be in that rug. Like it's completely disingenuous for her to not be rooting.
Correct. Let's go to the last one. Next one.
All right.
I'm sorry.
Wait, no, this one was
is
super
I
intense.
don't know what's going on, but
Everyone's over it, babe.
Wait, listen, they
15 of
just
them,
stop
and they're
digging.
just kind of like standing around. Like I don't know if they're thinking about next steps. I don't know what's happening. They're all just kind of standing around. The digging has paused. A guy with a suit has now come over. I don't want to show too much again, just in case like we don't know what's happening yet. But
next.
Yeah, that's
babe. Next.
They're just kind of looking in the hole.
No,
and they've paused.
Okay.
Me. I'm controlling the buttons. I'm controlling the buttons.
One guy's on the phone. I don't know. That's what I know.
And here's what it looks like from my perspective.
Okay.
You guys.
All right.
They have recovered the hole, and this has been the most absurd, insane experience of my life.
This is it.
What did they find?
Oh, this is it?
No, they didn't find a body. They
Wait,
found a mother effing rug with some rubber. The question remains of why did the dogs hit? I don't know. Both dogs, not just one, two. I don't know. The other question remains is who broke my laptop?
The masturbator.
People
the
across street.
masturbator. I'll be in the masturbatorium in the East
I don't know.
Wing.
All right, what do you have
I'm
for us
so-
next?
I have still been sitting in this very chair.
All right, so wait.
There's
Okay,
more?
so-
Why?
Listen, man. Listen, you can't rush perfection. And that was absolute perfection. So let's see. I'm gonna update it right there. She got 2 million. So she said last week she had 6,000 followers.
I found nothing. That's what they found.
That's right.
Nothing.
And that is a lesson learned in how to grow your TikTok account.
Yes, Jay.
2 million. 2 million. All right, listen. And now what I'm going to do is
my audio too high? Someone said I'm so much higher than the video. Is it? I think I can turn it down.
Wait, there's an exciting new. Wait, I got to refresh. All right, there's an exciting new. I think this is the exciting new one. There's an exciting new. All right, so little known story. So our friends. So Allison, tell the story.
I mean, I don't see why, but sure. These are very close family friends of ours. My sister went to junior high with AJ's wife, and they have been like sisters ever since. So
yes. All right, now hold on. So they just brought out a new ripping song.
Ay.
Still bringing it. Still bringing it. Still bringing it.
This is hot off the presses with AJ and Big Justice.
AJ's great though.
One hit wonder would bring the boom. We're back bringing it strong, so turn up the volume.
Gotta bring the boom strong, bring the boom with no fear. Bring the boom was the song of the summer this year.
Put him on the boom meter, we're gonna rate it. Put the fries in the bag now, already ate it.
Boom and doom in the restaurants, making some noise. Taking the field with the Boca Beach Boys.
Busting on the right seat like Slim Shady. Thrown with the raw just
there was
like
Erica.
Throwing up weight that others can't punch. Smashing home runs like Aaron Judge.
Across the world, across the nation, keep on singing it. The boom's still here, and we're still bringing it.
And that name, another little known fact. I don't know. Here's Erica. Was that Erica's mom?
Still bringing it.
Who's with her?
Erica and her daughter.
Oh,
Yep.
wow.
Little known fact that AJ's twin sisters, we're talking about big AJ. His former wrestling name was Big Justice, which he gave to his son.
That's what
but his sisters played James Caan's twins in The Godfather. Little known fact about AJ. And
I don't know why we're telling the Bufumo family history.
That was amazing. Like that was the first thing he bragged about the first time I ever met him. Like first thing.
Oh, I thought you meant to the public. I don't know.
No, it was like they still get royalty checks from The Godfather for playing.
Yes, but
and they had no speaking in it. It's not a secret, dude.
Now bring the phone.
Oh my Lord. Okay, what's next, Jay?
No,
The book's still
it
here.
all the
We're
way
still
through.
bringing it.
All right, so that is amazing. So the point being that AJ has worked his ass off for years trying to build, like, go viral, and it turned out to be this Costco guys thing where, like, we were actually in, like, we had gone to Jersey, we had gone to visit Allie's family, and like her sister's like, "Oh my God, have you heard that like AJ like went viral on TikTok?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Are you like?" So I go on, and it's the Costco guys thing. They're eating the chicken, whatever thingy it is, and they come up with the Boone thing. So they've worked, and I'm going to tell you that like I like they get a lot of hate online, but like AJ's like love of his kids and his wife is 1,000,000% genuine. That guy is like
everything about him is genuine.
Everything about him is genuine. So like we root for him, and it's pretty amazing. So point being, they had to really work. He had a lot of flops in terms of trying to get viral. He hit with the Costco guys thing, and he's parlayed it. And this other girl found a little bit of a rug in a hole and got 2 million people in 2 days. So there you go. Lesson learned. All right. So
moving on to
now we're going to get some real crime. Okay. First thing we're going to cover
this point.
So I want to get up just the tragic case of Anna Walshe. We're going to cover that one quick because it was a very quick hearing. If you guys don't know, Anna Walshe went missing late December in 2022.
She's an adult, child.
She is a mother of two, wife.
Oh, wow.
She's this lovely gal right here. And
is that her husband?
Yeah.
Oh,
so he ends up. She goes, disappears. He doesn't call anybody. Ultimately, a friend of hers ends up reporting her missing after New Year's. So they had people over on New Year's Eve, like a friend over. She vanishes off the face of the earth. This guy doesn't do shit. He's driving around. Ultimately, they end up picking him up, I want to say on January 7th for murdering his wife, allegedly. They end up finding just horrible things in the basement in terms of like bloody tarps. There were some tools down there. His search history on his devices was horrific. They also saw, like, somebody had seen him. I think they were watching him, and they had seen that he had the back two seats of his vehicle, like his wagon or SUV, down with a tarp laid out. They have never discovered her body still. He has been charged. He was back in court in front of none other than everyone's favorite Judge Auntie Bev. I'll allow it, Cannone. This was, I think, on Thursday. Short hearing. And as you'd expect, with it being in Judge Cannone's jurisdiction.
I like Little Bird's little thing here. We could try to say red rum instead of
red rum. I like that. Wait, I heard somebody else do that today on a live. They were.
I don't like if someone.
Oh, you know what? It was Vinny. Vinny was doing it. He was doing it on live. I like that. That's what we'll start doing because I love The Shining anyway. They definitely didn't make it up. Stephen King really kind
So
of
he got arrested for red rumming her. Got it.
red rumming her. Yes. All right. Okay. So this is the hearing. It's pretty short. It's obviously interesting. There's obviously crossover.
Can I interrupt? How come we don't get strikes? We say things like red rum, but
It's
in
not
the
a
reverse
strike
all the
thing.
time.
It's
Or
not a strike thing. It's like they may demonetize us.
oh, so that's why we're making no money. Got it.
I don't think
I just
I think that they're a little they're more concerned with like self unaliving is the thing that they're more concerned about. Like that's something that they are hyper vigilant. I mean, there's way too many true crime
right.
and like lawyer shows on YouTube for them to
Right.
be like, I mean, they know I mean, they're making the money off of us, right? So all right, so we're gonna watch this hearing. I'm gonna put it at 1.5. I think the sound kind of sucked on this when I was watching it earlier. So we'll go 1.5 to see how it is. So there he is. There he is.
He
Looking
did it.
like
Guilty. No, I'm just
looking
kidding.
like a big-headed creep.
It's a little too
Ooh,
fast.
it's a little too fast.
Can't hear anything.
Yeah, I told you the sound sucked. That's
So what?
cranked.
So, Mr. Tipton, I've read your motion and affidavit and memorandum.
Can you just summarize it for us?
response. Have you had a chance to look at any of the materials
Yeah.
that it seems like maybe the Commonwealth gave you in the last week from when the motion was filed? Or
Oh, there's captions.
No, because frankly, we just got it.
okay, all right. So what are we doing today?
Well, I don't want to speak for the Commonwealth, and I want to make sure that Mr. Walsh understands that I just told him something different in lockup.
Okay.
I think based on the representations of the Commonwealth, both in its communications yesterday and today, there's a lot of discovery forthcoming, some of which addresses some of our requests, some of which have been done. So I think it's a waste of our time to argue this extensive motion and memorandum of law. And I was going to explain why we filed such a detailed memorandum of law, but I don't think I need to waste the court's time with that. So I think what we're suggesting is at least
Man, he's on fire today.
She's always on fire. She's the best. We've missed her so much in chat.
Narrow the motion as to what you might still need.
Motion.
Sure, that's fine. If you determine that some of what you're requesting is Rule 17, do you anticipate being able to file them that day or not? I'm not telling you you have to. I'm
Yeah,
just-
can you move the screen, like take our thing off so people can read the?
Wait, what thing?
No, never mind. They're there.
Briefly say that in our memorandum, when we address internal affairs, we are suggesting that right now, under the present facts and circumstances, that we argue in the memorandum that a Rule 17, even for internal affairs, isn't necessary given where we are today. And the court may certainly disagree, and we said in our memorandum.
Pause it real quick.
To follow Wayness, we will.
So right now, for anyone who's not really, since not hearing, not paying attention, this lawyer is looking for discovery related to the, bad acts of the police department, right?
Yeah. It's like Proctor was the lead on this,
Right.
on the Walsh thing. He's not anymore, but I mean, it's
So
like,
he's like eternal affairs, maternal affairs.
yeah,
Like,
I mean, it's sticky with like, Karen Reed bleed over. So
Right.
that in this lawyer is, I'm sure we would be doing the exact same thing,
of course.
jumping all over it, being like,
Yeah.
oh, these scumbag cops were the one, I mean, like they're doing that. So, I mean, ultimately they're going to be challenging everything. They're going to try to turn it into Proctor planted all the searches of like how to dismember a body, what's the best way to get rid of a body, like all the horrific searches this guy had on his shit. Yeah, no, this is not that. Like, but I mean, I get why he's doing it.
But if we know that Rule 17 would be required, I would anticipate you would bring it with us.
And it's in not necessarily regarding the internal affairs, but other things you were looking for. I thought were probably a little bit more obvious. Rule 17.
Okay.
So that's what I mean. Not those. I understand litigating whether the IAD information is Rule 17 or Rule 14. I can see that maybe we will have to have that discussion. But the others that I think maybe after you look at what you have might think is Rule 17. So on those, do you anticipate you might be able to file them by then, or it's too early to tell?
Yikes.
It's too early to tell.
Okay, how about if you can, you will?
That's absolutely right.
Okay, all right, does that make sense, Mr. Connor?
Perfect sense.
12-2 works for me. Jimmy, does it work for you?
It does.
Okay. Do you want Mr. Walsh brought in that day?
I think we should issue a hay, and then Mr. Walsh and all of us will talk and see if he needs to be brought in. But if we're gonna have a hearing, yes, I will.
Sure, so.
He's
we're
not in
gonna have Mr.
custody?
Walsh, but if you don't want to come.
Oh, yeah.
Why is he
He's-
wearing a suit?
Just fine with it. And
I don't know.
I don't understand. There's no jury there.
Yes.
I don't know.
Oh, you know why? Because everything's being publicized.
Right.
So they don't want to ever look to the public like a criminal. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah. It's like the Koberger treatment.
That's our understanding of it.
Is that what they're doing for him?
Yeah.
That's what I would order, right, at this point, so, all right, so I'll allow them to
It's a
come.
I mean,
huge
frankly, it should be
hassle.
that way for everybody.
It
the
should.
thing's
If it's being publicized, it's
Yeah.
a huge hassle for the jail to do that for every single
Oh,
court
yeah.
appearance. I mean,
Oh,
you
you
can't.
kidding me? Like getting them dressed? Yeah.
No.
Plus, the family's got to bring, like, who's bringing the student suit?
So,
Right.
Jimmy, you can take all the notes off the papers, please, if you would. All right, thank you all.
All right. So that was short and sweet with that. All right. So essentially, not much happened there. That thing's probably about, I'd say, a year plus from trial.
I don't think Proctor's behavior, because at least what's been sort of admitted and acknowledged, because whatever we all think as far as like the behavior is one thing, but what's been acknowledged doesn't really deal with corruption, so to speak, and like dishonesty. So it's not going to be like an end all be all with, with every case, like that's going to have a huge impact or anything.
Right. No, I agree. I agree.
If they could have
Um,
established some of the other things, like, the freaking missing video on the phone. He's the only one who has access to the phone, and then the thing goes missing. I still don't get why that wasn't a bigger deal, but
Yeah. I mean, me either. It's like this thing, like they haven't even started litigating like the real motions yet. So
exactly, Afton.
obviously, that's yet to come. All right. So now bless you.
Thank you.
We are going to pivot to the Mendedez brothers, which here's those two clowns who might just very well be victims.
I think that they're victims. I think that they should be out. Personally.
All right, you're jumping way ahead of the game. All right, so for those of you who don't know, who are either too young or maybe too old, and you've lost your memory, back in August of 1989, Jose and Kitty Mendedez were brutally slain in their own home.
Beverly
shot to
Hills,
death.
90210.
These two went on a shopping spree, spending all kinds of dough, and ultimately they get picked up, arrested, tried. First trial ends up in a mistrial because
now let me give some different details here.
Yeah.
So first of all, the media, and again, this is for anybody who I guess is too young to know or whatever, but the media, just because they're very, very wealthy, Beverly Hills, and the boys spent a lot of money after the parents were killed. It all became that these were rich kids who killed their parents to get to the money. And that's what was pushed out by like every newspaper, every outlet, everywhere. It was the first case where you're having publicized trial. And then OJ came in like, wow, I think it was between the first and the second trial.
In between, yeah.
Right. At the first trial, which I did not know this until we watched
the Netflix thing. Or no, it was one of the other ones.
Right. Not Monsters, because Monsters made it look like these guys are basically guilty. Well, I didn't see the whole thing, so Bob did.
Yeah,
but
I would say
there were cousins that came forward and said that the boys had said things about being molested by their father to them, said that the dad made him touch him, made comments. There's an uncle that they hadn't seen in like years who like flew across the country or something, who came in and said he observed something, like very unusual. And what are you marketing?
Jay was asking about the Stanley.
Oh, I
No,
wish I had
my
one filled
kids,
here with water.
both
That'd
of
be
our
nice.
kids whined and sniveled about us getting
And then they
Stanleys,
don't
and they
use them.
both abandoned them.
Yeah.
So now I've pimped it.
But there was a lot of evidence that had come out in that first trial, but in the second trial, the judge didn't allow any evidence about abuse whatsoever, and they still were sort of trying the defense to present it as, to mitigate it by presenting that they were abused, and it almost came out worse because for the little bit of stuff they were allowed to put in, it sounded like they were just whining about nothing, because they weren't allowed to get in so much of the evidence. And now, um, so the father was involved with the band Menudo. And for those of you who are too young or don't have a memory, they were, I think, like one of the very first boy bands. I remember when I was in junior high, maybe even younger than that, I made like a little pin that said Menudo. I was like, and Ricky Martin, he was Menudo. But in any event, members of Menudo have come forward and said they were abused by the father. So I think I have no doubt that, like, if you watch the Monsters thing and you're like, well, no, because there was a recording of Lyle, I think is the older one, right?
Yes.
Of one of Lyle saying to someone on the phone that it was made up or that they were
Or
gonna
wait,
lie, or
was
one of
Lyle
the
the
brothers.
older of the two?
I don't know, whichever, one of the brothers. But you can imagine back in the 80s, like, even with your life on the line and you're a man, a guy, and who has lived the kind of lifestyle they have lived, so it's like their ego is all wrapped up in like their not their appearance, but their how they're depicted, how they're perceived. Like, that
Right.
they don't want that coming out. They don't want to admit that. So I don't think that they're lying. I don't think, like, when I heard what their testimony was, this is before there was, like, all the things that now, like, that you hear grooming things and, like, oh, it started with massages after sports and this happened and that happened. These aren't things that they're just making up, like, out of the blue. These are things that we now know are, like, consistent patterns of child
Abuse.
abusers.
Yeah, no question.
Um,
All right, Todd, God's power bag, man. Welcome back, brother. I'm glad that you're through probably the worst of it, hopefully. I mean, it's still a nightmare down in the southern US. I mean, shit, Steve barely has power. He's fighting to have power. But man, like, Asheville is just destroyed. It's so sad. So did you say, like, but like the thing with the first trial that ended in the mistrial, and they were able to bring all of that evidence in
right.
in terms of the abuse, the difference. So they get the mistrial, they
And
turn
it was
around.
6 jurors for guilty, 6 for manslaughter,
Yeah,
which
true
I'm just
split.
shocked that the 6 for murder didn't say, "All right, we'll come to we'll
Will
we
come
have
down
a
to manslaughter.
right, we have a
They
verdict
weren't
on
buying it.
manslaughter and not
They
on
weren't
murder."
buying it. They weren't buying, like, they didn't buy the story. You know what I'm saying? So, and like, you and I both found that the relatives were very convincing in terms of them substantiating and corroborating their stories. So, and then second trial, and the turnaround was very quick. And as Ali said, OJ happens right in the middle. And not only that, OJ, unless they took creative license in the Monsters thing, ends up being placed in a holding cell right next to, I think, Eric, one of the two. So it's OJ is in the cell right next to him, and he's telling the way they did it in Monsters, which could be completely bullshit, because on his Dahmer thing, he had the whole Gacy thing at the end where he had Gacy killing in this like full clown garb, which did not happen. But second trial happens, and the judge in that, not the same judge, shuts it down, doesn't allow any of that defense to come in. So they basically get railroaded, and then they were convicted to life in. So right now, where we're at, and the kind of the worthy news of it is that, as of, and look, like, the Netflix thing got it back on the radar. I happen to think it was really back on the radar before the Netflix, like on TikTok, because like we were asking Cameron, our 18-year-old, and she was like, "Oh, what's up on civil law?" She was like, "Oh, they're good looking," so they became like girls my age became interested in the case. I'm like, wow, really?
But they did focus on their looks on TikTok, and then people what shifted it is people started to say you shouldn't sexualize them because they're victims. And
Right.
then people were like, "Wait, what?"
Exactly. So, but there's been movement going back, not so much to what any of the shows had to say per se. And the monsters thing really ended with them uh not painting them in a very flattering way, really painted them as two spoiled brats who just wasted their parents, is the feeling I got at the end of Monsters.
Bob gave up on it, and then when he stopped watching, I was like, "All right, well, I guess it's
No,
not worth
I
it."
watched it all the way through, but
Oh,
it
you
was
did?
like, yeah, it was like, it was jagged in terms of me watching it. Um, so essentially what's happened though, as a result of all this renewed interest, but more importantly, as a result, like I think that kind of pressure helps prosecutors kind of move the needle a bit and say, all right, we have these people that were in Menudo coming forward with their accusations against a person who's no longer here to defend himself. However, there's a lot of them coming forward. And so this is the latest news. It dropped yesterday. Prosecutors in Los Angeles are reviewing new evidence in the case. And I think that they filed a writ of habeas um, in the case of Eric and Lyle Menendez to determine whether they should be serving life sentences for killing their parents in their Beverly Hills mansion more than 35 years ago. The city's district attorney said, Los Angeles County District Attorney George Gascon said during a news conference that attorneys for Eric Menendez and his brother Lyle, 53 and 56 respectively, have asked the court to vacate their conviction. Gascon said there is no question that the brothers committed the murders, but that his office will be reviewing new evidence and will make a decision on whether it warrants a resentencing. A hearing was scheduled for
Hopefully it
November
does.
29th. So we'll obviously be keeping an eye on that.
I really
along
hope
with
they get
everybody else.
resentenced. I just there's not 1 ounce of me who does not think that they were abused by their father.
I agree. I agree. And it begs the question in today's climate, if that came out, would they have even been charged? I mean, there's a lot of people out there that I think they would have certainly, but you can't just go in and murder your parents. I mean, it reminds me a lot of
And
my
all
dad's
they ever said
case,
about mom is that mom knew. So,
which is just as shitty almost. Like,
I mean, it's horrible. She's supposed to protect them.
yes, mama bearing. And like that did not happen. But like ultimately, I think that kind of the fact that it was brought back into the public consciousness is pretty interesting, but like in terms of I think that they would go after him for manslaughter. And like I was saying, my dad, remember I've told you about that Jennifer Van Noonen case where my dad with the 14-year-old girl who caved her father's head in while he was sleeping on the couch. My dad obviously got the psychiatrist in there, and this was like before this case even. This was like after Gacy, I think I want to say in like 83 or 84. And my dad got all the psychologists and psychiatrists to evaluate her. And I mean, the argument is that she truly thought that her father was going to kill her mother at some point because it was a constant cycle of abuse to the point where she had woken up out of a dead sleep after mom was just being abused once again with her father screaming, "I'm going to kill you," and beating her. And she got up while he's sleeping on the couch and just caved her father's skull in. And ultimately, in that, the state, after my dad presented them with all the evidence from the psychologist and the psychiatrist, said, "You know what? We agree. She does not deserve jail time." So they gave her straight up probation. She was out. She never served a day in jail. And she's living like a spectacular life. It was like really a life-saving thing. And I've been wanting to try to get her on, if she'd be willing to share her story, because I thought it was one of my dad's great victories. I felt, and I
Yeah,
thought
that
it
was
was
well before its time.
it was well before its time, and it was well well done on his part. So the new evidence presented in a petition includes a letter written by Eric Mendedez that his attorneys say corroborates the allegations that he was sexually abused by his father. Gascon said he believes that the topic of sexual assault would have been treated with more sensitivity if the case had happened today. So he said that his office did not know the validity of what was presented at trial. We will evaluate all of it. Who is seeking re-election, always, and noted that more than 300 people have been resentenced during his term, and only 4 have gone on to commit a crime again. So Cliff Gardner, attorney for the brothers, says they are pleased by the district attorney's decision. So given today's very different understanding of how sexual and physical abuse impacts children, both boys and girls, and the remarkable new evidence, we think resentencing is the appropriate result. So
they argued in the trial, or maybe between the two, that boys, literally they said the words, boys can't be raped. They don't have the mechanics for it, or something like that.
yeah, no, I know. Well, I mean, like that was always the thing that like it goes in line with how just like in the 70s
I'm
and
with you, mindful.
80s that they just didn't acknowledge anything that was homosexual in nature at all. Like they didn't investigate crimes. I mean, Dahmer, it was the same shit who was going on in the 90s. Like the victims that survived him were hearing the exact same things that the victims that survived Gacy were hearing from law enforcement. Oh, it was a gay fight. We don't really give a shit. It was just a couple of gay guys, like, like getting rough with you, like all that bullshit. So, I mean, just everything's changed, and I think it's fair for them to revisit it at this point. And if in fact these 2 kids were abused to the extent that they were, I think they should be out.
Stick up the vote, babe. Free Eric and Lyle, or don't free them.
Oh, you mean make a poll?
Yeah.
I'll make a poll.
Does Allie know? Oh, I forgot mindful was Shannon. Hi, Shannon.
Is Shan's here? What's up, Shans? Miss you, girl. We miss you guys so much.
I can't even see. There's a little picture there.
Oh, there's a little echo. All right. Okay, so I'm going to do a poll.
Oh, there's Shan.
All right, keep reading this while I'm polling. It's the end of the article here.
Okay.
Can you read it? Big enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
The case has gained new attention in recent weeks after Netflix story began streaming the true crime drama Monsters, the Lyle and Eric Mendedez story. In a statement on X posted by his wife, Eric Mendedez called the show a dishonest portrayal of what happened that has taken them back to a time when prosecutors, quote, built a narrative on a belief system that males were not sexually abused and that males experienced rape trauma differently from women, end quote. The brothers were given life sentences for fatally shooting their parents, Jose and Kitty Mendedez, in 1989. Lyle, who was then 21, and Eric, then 18, admitted they fatally shotgunned their entertainment executive father and their mother, but said they feared their parents were about to kill them to prevent the disclosure of the father's long-term sexual molestation of Eric. Prosecutors contended there was no evidence of any molestation. They said the sons were after their parents' multi-million-dollar estate. Jurors rejected a death sentence in favor of life without parole. And so they talk about the long-term abuse of Eric because that was continuing up until the time of the murder. Was at least according to what they have said, a week before the murder, Eric told Lyle that the father was still abusing them. And I guess I think what Lyle said was, and I know Afton and some other people were saying there was other evidence that had come out about the mom. I didn't watch all the series. But what I had heard the boys say in an interview was that I think Lyle was screaming and yelling at the mom, and like the mom somehow admitted like that she knew, she had always known or something. But it sounds like there was a lot more to the mom that I'm I'm not familiar with.
All right. So poll results thus far. Can you see them, babe? You got to be watching. So right now we got 61 votes.
Where are they?
You gotta be looking on YouTube. You're not gonna see it.
Oh.
So right now we're at 62 votes. Come on, people, vote. It's free. Like, what are you guys doing? 62
Yeah, and
votes.
while you're voting, give a
It's-
thumbs up.
Give a thumbs up, give a like, and a subscribe, and a share. We love that stuff over here. Look at Jay. Look at Jay. What a guy. Thank you, J-Bo. You're the best,
What'd he do?
man. He gifted us 5 DD memberships. What a wonderful human being. And you know who else became a member? His beautiful better half. Welcome, Shans. We love you guys. Thank you so much.
Yes,
You
we
guys
do.
are
We do.
beautiful, beautiful
Miss you guys.
humans. We do miss you so much. All right. So next, I want to slip over to hip hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs. Diddy do it? Diddy do it? Who was recently indicted in federal court on all kinds of shit. Basically, he's got a ton of indictments stemming from all of his years of just doing super creepy shit. That like and really,
Thanks, Laura.
I think ultimately a lot of the indictments, which include, arson, bribery, kidnapping, obstruction of justice, sexual trafficking, they all stem from these freak offs. But I think ultimately what put the feds on it is that he was hoarding all the baby oil and lubricant. Like when they found the 1,000 bottles of lubricant, they said, you know what?
I think
Enough
he's
is
raping
enough.
people.
We're taking you down, dude. Like no one hoards baby oil like that because we all need baby oil. So now I'm going to leave it up to y'all because, and if all jokes aside, this federal case was really built out of civil actions, lawsuits that were filed against Sean Combs, wherein the feds are like looking at some of the allegations in these civil suits and they're like, wow, like this is not good. Like, wow, this is criminal. So they were able to glean a lot of information, get a lot of evidence, get a lot of witnesses out of those civil lawsuits. So on October 1st, this Texas attorney, Tony Busby, had a press conference. Now, I want to ask the chat, you give me a thumbs up. I'm thinking about playing this presser because it's pretty interesting. Oh, hey, Helen. Helen, I saw you in here. Welcome, welcome. Hey, where is Kitty C been? Anybody seen Kitty C for a while?
I thought she was in here.
Is she? I've worried about her. I haven't seen her on the Twitter, and I don't know if I've been missing her in the chat. But if you're out there, Kitty C, we're thinking about you. We miss you if you haven't been here. I don't know that I've seen her. Lauren, thank you, member for 6 months. We appreciate you so much. So, what do you guys give me the thumbs up on the Busby? So basically, he's coming forth with 120 new sexual assault civil lawsuits, which you absolutely know are going to turn into superseding indictments. I mean, like, and kind of why I want to watch it, babe, is I want to kind of pick your mind a little bit, your brain about how
Thanks,
you
Terry.
think these civil suits. Love you both. Appreciate the legal knowledge you shared. We appreciate you, Terry, appreciating us very much. So you guys give me the thumbs up or thumbs down. Is there a thumbs down? If you guys want to hear the presser, I'm going to pull it up. I'll see if I can do it.
Seems like people want to hear.
Okay. It's relatively interesting. All right. So let's blow this thing up. This guy is about to ring the bell with these lawsuits. Like, like the logistics of 120 different lawsuits, because it's not a class action. It's not a class action.
I'll introduce other members of our team as they speak.
As
many of you know, our law firm has been at the forefront of some of the most important litigation in the United States. We like the tough cases. We thrive in the complicated cases. We've handled over the last 25 years some very big and very important cases. I believe that this one may surpass them all. There are many facets to this. The conduct we will describe today occurred over more than 20 years. There are many people and many entities involved. And we're going to follow this evidence wherever it takes us. We will find the silent accomplices. We will expose the enablers who enabled this conduct behind closed doors. We will pursue this matter no matter who the evidence implicates. These brave victims who have stepped forward deserve nothing less. The biggest secret in the entertainment industry that really wasn't a secret at all has finally been revealed to the world. The wall of silence has now been broken, and victims are coming forward. Our team has had at this point more than 3,285 individuals contact us with people claiming to have been victimized by Sean Combs. After vetting, we now represent 120 individuals who intend to bring civil claims in civil court against Sean Diddy Combs, as well as claims against many other individuals and entities that we will name as defendants as we file these individual cases.
Yeah, and
what I'd like to know is if they're giving these people the option to settle before they file.
Yeah, I mean, like, and that was part of the discussion. Do you think that? I mean, do you go in with like a global settlement? You know, because what I'm saying is it's not a class action suit. So,
well, yeah, but you sue everybody, and then, yeah, I mean, eventually you typically end up, taking a global settlement, but it kind of depends how it plays out. Sometimes,
and this spans many different states.
I suspect what you'll have is less involved. Like people are going to want to, they'll probably let people buy themselves out, one by one, and then they'll get left with a certain, with Diddy and
these aren't civil suits? These are civil suits, aren't they? Like this guy's not a prosecutor, is he? I think these are civil. There's no way the feds would allow anybody else to. What do you mean, Kraken? Like, what do you mean they're not civil? You mean that, like, I think they are civil lawsuits. Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean, but they're definitely civil lawsuits. All right, let's hear. But like, there is a trigger warning here. All right, trigger warning, because I think he gets into some pretty detailed graphic stuff.
And you should know, to the extent the clients feel comfortable, we also intend to make these individuals available to the authorities, specifically to the FBI. And you should also know a few of them have already been spoken to by the FBI. Now, before we discuss the nature of the claims and claimants themselves, let me comment on the large volume of calls we have received since our first announcement. Even before the indictment of Sean Combs, we had received a small volume of calls and had screened a handful of cases. After the indictment of Sean Combs and the announcement that we were pursuing these claims, the floodgates opened. People who wouldn't otherwise, for a variety of reasons, are now stepping forward to make their voices heard and to pursue justice. But no, most of these people are scared. They fear backlash in their communities. They fear backlash in their own families. They are afraid of retaliation from the perpetrators and their associates. They are rightly afraid for their own personal safety. I expect that through this process, many powerful people will be exposed. Many dirty secrets will be revealed. We know what we are potentially up against. And as is always the case in situations like this when celebrities involved, people can be downright mean and nasty. You'd be shocked at the length fans will go, no matter the evidence to the contrary, to defend celebrities.
All right. Anybody that watched this presser, like, is there a version of it that doesn't do that glitching thing? Let me know in the chat, because if there is, I'm going to find it, because that's driving me nuts.
They love. I mean, there's a reason for this word fans. They're fanatics. I've personally already been threatened multiple times on social media. And when I agreed to pursue this, I expected as much. This isn't my first rodeo. But victims who step forward to have their voices heard should not be subjected to that kind of conduct. They should not be targeted. I want to say this, and I want to be clear about it. Although we are vetting each call as stringently as we can, I always start with a mindset that I believe victims.
Yeah, Jessica.
I believe victims because I understand the tremendous courage it takes to step forward. So if you're watching this, please hear me. If you're out there and you have been victimized, you are not alone. There is a great strength in numbers. You can seek redress. You can obtain justice. We can help you, and we will help you. That being said, as stated, we are vetting every call that we receive. We've had to turn away some. For each, we ask for corroboration. For each, we ask for the identity of witnesses. We also have collected pictures, videos, texts. We check venues. We check dates. We want to corroborate that the claims being made have legitimacy and merit. We have on staff now a former detective from the Major Offenders Unit of Houston Police Department who is helping us vet each claim. We're using our common sense. We're being stringent because, as I said, these are not easy cases. They're very tough. The process is hard, and in some cases, the process is very lengthy. These cases are hard to prove. Many times, it's a victim's word against the alleged perpetrator. Each of these victims will no doubt be publicly attacked by the alleged perpetrators, and in some cases, the general public. The feckless and cowardly keyboard warriors love to attack. We know what we're up against.
Feckless and cowardly keyboard warriors.
I wish it was my last such fray. I wish this type of behavior wasn't so pervasive, but it is what it is, so we will press on. As I said, our law firms have been retained by 120 individuals at this point to pursue cases in civil court against Sean Diddy Combs. You should know, in this group, it's evenly divided between males and females. There are 60 males and 60 females who have joined us to pursue these claims as plaintiffs. In this group,
look for another version.
30% are white.
Can you try clicking the arrow back? Because someone suggested
the victims
that,
are from more than
like,
25 states.
Kind of like you're rewinding.
Majority are from California, New York.
That's the camera.
I know.
I want to focus.
I don't know. Yeah.
Of these victims.
It's brutal. All right.
When we talk about the ages of the victims when the conduct occurred, it's shocking. Our youngest victim at the time of the occurrence was 9 years old.
Oh,
man. We have an individual who was 14 years old. We have one who was 15. 25 of the 120 individuals who are plaintiffs in these cases were minors at the time of the acts complained of. The time frame of the acts complained of is very wide.
I think
conduct at issue spans from the years 1991 all the way till this year, 2024. If you wonder why there are so many alleged victims, that's your answer. We're talking about more than 25 years of this type of conduct. Now, although most of the victims who have stepped forward were victimized after 2015, this has been going on for a very long time. Now, when you think about the fact that some of this conduct occurred 25 years ago, and you wonder why would it take somebody so long to step forward, I want to remind you that many states in the United States have recognized that it's very difficult for a victim to step forward and to make these types of allegations when something very terrible has happened to them. I'll use New York, the state of New York as an example. The state of New York has specific statutes in place that revive claims that are even claims that would typically be not able to be brought, that revive such claims, and they can be brought even 25 to 30 years later. Because there's a recognition there in New York and California and other states that it's very difficult for a victim to come forward. And I would respectfully suggest the only reason many of these people are coming forward because they see other victims coming forward. And it gives them some comfort that, hey, I won't be the only one.
Babe, look at that.
I expect more victims will come forward. You know, there's an old saying that says, a lie has great speed, but truth has endurance. The acts complained of in these cases that we're going to file occurred primarily in New York, either Manhattan or the Hamptons, or occurred in California, primarily in Los Angeles, or in Florida, primarily in Miami. Most of these events and incidents occurred at parties, typically after parties, or album release parties, New Year's Eve parties, 4th of July parties, something they called a puppy party, a white party, although several of these events occurred at auditions. Many times, especially young people wanting to break into the industry, were coerced into this type of conduct in the promise of being made a star, or in the promise of having Sean Combs listen to their tape or even let them read for Sean Combs. You should know that some of this behavior occurred at well-known venues in New York City. Some of this behavior occurred at private residences of people that we all know.
I'm going to try this one.
All right. So did you pay attention to what number we were at?
Yeah, I think I'm right there. That's what I was trying to do. I think this is the one.
Do we have like one of those little warning things we can put up?
I mean, we keep putting up the warning, the trigger warning. No, we need like a cool sticker like that we could put up. Like Gazella uses, like, she's got a little stuffy that she uses when like it's like a trigger warning she puts out. Yeah, it's good. All right. So I think this is better.
Several of these events occurred
at
auditions. Many times, especially young people wanting to break into the industry.
You hear it, babe?
Puppy party.
Were coerced.
I can.
This type of conduct.
Can you all hear it?
In the promise of being made a star, or in the promise of having Sean Combs listen to their tape, or even let them read for Sean Combs.
Okay.
You should know that some of this behavior occurred at well-known venues in New York City. Some of this behavior occurred at private residences of people that we all know.
Thanks, guys.
Some of this behavior occurred at hotels that we're all familiar with. You should know that more than 55% of the victims filed reports, reported this conduct to either the authorities, that is the police, or to hospitals. We're in the process of collecting with our team assistants, medical records, reports that were made to the authorities. And I've already said that some of the individuals in this group did in fact talk to the FBI.
Laura.
You should know that several of the individuals, and when I say several, I mean many, who did in fact seek medical treatment,
Is this sped up,
drug
babe?
tested,
No.
and drugs were found in their system, weird drugs that you probably never heard of. One in particular that continues to pop up is a drug called xylazine or trank, which based on our research is
This
known
is
as a horse
Diddy.
tranquilizer.
P. Diddy.
Now, there's been a lot of reports that we're filing a class action. This is not a class action. Class actions when one or two people file a case on behalf of a group of people. That's not this.
Sherry, it's Sean
These
Combs.
cases will be individual cases. Each case will live and die on its own merit. These
Okay.
cases will be filed individually, one plaintiff against whoever the defendants were involved in the case.
Got it. I still don't
Each
see how
case
they're.
may be filed.
Wait, I told you they were all individual suits.
I didn't know if they were going to file as code like 17 plaintiffs.
I don't,
you know.
I don't know. I think individually, like, because
Well,
we
I
were
still
trying to
don't
figure
see
out
how
the
it
logistics of
creates an issue when you have one lawyer representing multiple victims, because how do they decide which victims are entitled to what money? Is it the amount of times you were abused, the type of abuse you endured, the where
Filed
you
in
stand
one
now,
venue like
how
California,
affected
another
you
case-
were, how much treatment you've needed, what your psychological makeup is, and you've got one lawyer who, for the purposes of his pocketbook, he doesn't care which client gets it,
Yeah.
and then you've got to deal with, well, there's, you know, I guess if they all file on the exact same day, but who filed first and who, it'll be difficult, but
I mean, and think about the concept of his, like, Diddy's defense lawyers. Like how do they handle that? Like, and unless these are federal, like, and like I'm assuming that they're going to file federal, right?
well,
'Cause
they
there's
can
probably, like,
for anybody in a different state than,
Diddy.
right, or if there's multiple defendants and you've got, yeah.
Right. There's going to be multiple defendants, but they're not
I mean, in different
meeting
states,
within
then you're
one
gonna,
suit. Yeah. I
right.
mean, it's like, it's going to be, that's why I was asking and how, so like, just so we're clear, these are civil lawsuits. Like I said, like they will turn everything over to the feds. Like, what do you think the interplay is going to be with respect to the federal case in terms of, like, when these guys are wanting to do depositions and they're going to want to start the discovery process, are the feds going to be like, yo, hold on, like, we're in the middle of some shit here.
Right.
Like,
If I represent the defendants, I would refuse the deposition and plead his Fifth Amendment right.
Right. But I mean, there's going to be a lot of other witnesses that aren't Diddy. You know what I mean? There's
Right,
gonna
and they're not
be-
going to like that. I don't know. It's going to be difficult.
It's going to be difficult, but I think the flip, like the other side of the coin of that is that I think that they can gain a lot.
Yeah, I think it's going to be much
from
more
depth.
thorough from the civil standpoint into all of the actors and especially the richest ones.
Right. Exactly. Because I mean, you can delve into much more in civil depositions than you can in criminal cases. Like, especially like if you live in a state like Illinois, where criminal depositions are not a thing. Like I don't know what the stats are for every state that they're going to file in, but again, and I don't know if they're going to be federal lawsuits or they're going to be state lawsuits, but I would tend to think in terms of if this firm's handling all of it, unless they have
I don't see how-
lawyers that are licensed all over the place. I mean, it's obviously a big firm. It's like one of
Yeah.
the Chicago super firms that they've
I'll
got.
tell you, I'd conflict them out on the second case. I try to.
Yeah. But I just think that the feds they can derive a lot of useful information. Like they'll be like, all right, go forward with your debt, but we're going to have an AUSA sitting in there listening to all of it. You know what I mean? Taking copious notes while we're telling them to prepare the transcript.
Case may be filed in New York. One case may sue just Sean Combs, but multiple other people. One case may sue a range of people. I would expect most, though, to be filed, as I said, in New York and Los Angeles. Now, I know this. Many of you came here thinking or hoping or perhaps believing that I may start naming names. Well, that day will come, but it won't be today. The day will come when we will name names other than Sean Combs, and there's a lot of names. It's a long list already. And of course, I already know who some of these individuals are, but because of the nature of this case, we're going to make damn sure that we're right before we do that. But the names that we're going to name, assuming that our investigators confirm and corroborate what we've been told, are names that will shock you. These are individual cases. There are indeed other perpetrators involved. They will be revealed when that particular individual case is ready to be filed. They already know who they are. And I'm talking here about not just the cowardly, but complicit bystanders. That is those people that we know watched this behavior occur and did nothing. And I'm talking about the people that participated, encouraged it, egged it on. They know who they are. I call them the facilitators of foul play, willing participants in vile conduct. As we identify them, each will be part of this case as defendants. These defendants will not only include individuals, but would also include corporate entities who ultimately profited off of this culture and behavior. I'm looking at banks, pharmaceutical companies, hotels. We know that many of these individuals were paid cash. We know that many of these individuals involved, whether they were the ones being assaulted and abused, or they're witnessing other people being assaulted and abused and then paid and threatened and told to leave. Typically paid 10 grand in cash and told to leave. And then threatened as they were leaving. So in addition to Sean Combs, you should know the defendants in these cases we're going to file will include anyone, of course, who engaged in the assault or exploitation, anyone who participated in such in any way, anyone who encouraged or facilitated this conduct, anyone who was in the room and watched it happen, but made no effort to stop it, any venue or venue owner who was aware of what was going on, but failed to stop it, any individual or entity who knew about the conduct and benefited from it, but did nothing to report it or stop it, and any individual or entity who covered it up or helped cover it up. These people who know who they are should just come forward now. I would imagine, as we speak here, there are a myriad of people who are very nervous. You can't hide skeletons in the closet forever. I would expect there are many people out there right now who are desperately searching their memories as they delete their texts and data. Now, although these are, in fact, individual cases, there is a common theme,
come
MO,
forward
if
like
you will.
that.
Typically, the victim is lured into a situation where he or she is given a drink. Typically, that drink, reported by these victims, is apparently laced with something. Once that drink takes effect, the perpetrators perform all kinds of sexual acts on the victims, many times passing him or her around as other people watch and enjoy the show, and then leave the victim ashamed, confused, injured, and wondering what happened. When the victim reaches out, he or she is told not to say anything. Sometimes there are threats of physical violence or financial repercussions or bodily harm. The claims we intend to bring will include the following: violent sexual assault or rape, sexual abuse, facilitated sex with a controlled substance, false imprisonment, compelling prostitution, sexual misconduct, dissemination of video recordings, false imprisonment, sexual abuse of minors. Given the large volume of cases and given our other docket obligations, and given the fact that we want to be sure when we file these cases that they are fully vetted, I expect we'll start filing these cases against Sean Combs and other perpetrators within the next 30 days.
Wow.
Now, it's rare, sexual abuse, sexual
longer.
exploitation, this type of activity is pervasive in our society, and it's rare we get a chance where we can really focus on this as a country and really focus on this about how pervasive this is and what we can, as collectively can do about it. So I thought I'd take this opportunity before I go into some of the individual cases and talk about some of the individual claims being made and some of the, so you'll get a sense of what this 120 people group looks like individually.
Who's this young lady to his right?
He might introduce her.
She's like, you can tell she is nervous as shit if you watch her breathing. Like he's He's obviously going to bring her up. You can
victim.
tell she's like really, really feeling it, like the nerves.
I want to bring forward Carrie Paul. She's a national victim advocate who helps victims who have been victimized by this type of conduct. And she has some important words, and I hope you'll pay close attention. I think it's important that you hear from her.
Oh, that was her.
Hello, I'm Carrie Paul with the National Victim Advocate. It's not easy for any survivor to come forward. Our culture doesn't believe survivors. It blames and questions them. Instead of showing support, many choose to enable abusers. The media runs stories asking why it took so long for survivors to come forward instead of asking what barriers exist. We also don't equip law enforcement with the ability to handle sexual assault crimes. Lack of funding translates to lack of training. We have officers in the field that don't know what to say to a rape victim, and also an alarming amount of backlogged, untested rape kits. Prosecutors are focused on what they can prove in a case, and if so, how to do that at time of trial. Advocates and staff are stretched thin with growing caseloads in the criminal justice system. Most people don't know how the criminal justice works in general. There isn't enough staff or resources to adequately explain the entire process to every victim and survivor. Our culture works against victims and survivors every day, and abusers know this. Abusers work themselves into positions of power, building a public image that is trusted and financially large enough to make people look away. Abusers are unfortunately very skilled at power and control, the foundation of abuse. They seek victims who are vulnerable, such as children, their employees, and their intimate partners, all who see a different version than the public does, all who rely on the abuser in some way. And for those that do come forward and aren't believed, face questions like, are you sure it happened that way? Were you drinking? What were you wearing? All of this creates an environment that enables abusers to continue abusing them and future victims. To the survivors that have come forward despite not being believed at some point in time, your courage is like nothing we have seen before. We thank you for coming forward for yourself and all survivors. And lastly, I want all survivors that are watching this to know we believe you and we support you. Thank you.
I want you now to hear from my co-counsel, Andrew Van Arsdale. We've created a sexual abuse hotline, and I want him to visit with us just a few moments about how that works and the kind of volume of calls we've received.
Thank you, Tony. Like Tony said, my name is Andrew Van Arsdale. I'm the managing partner of ABA Law Group. We have offices in California, Montana, and North Carolina. To build off of what you just so well said, it's very hard to come forward. And given what we've experienced the past 10 days is really unprecedented in my career, at least. We represent thousands of survivors of abuse, and never, ever in a 10-day period have we seen over 3,000 people come forward, or we've confirmed and decided to investigate and represent 120 people while we're continuing to work through another 100+ cases to prove them up, to validate what had happened here, and to hold those that are responsible accountable. And so like Tony said, we've set this up, 1-800-200-7474. I have a team of people standing by literally. If you know that this happened to someone and you have information about it, please contact us. If this happened to you, come forward. There's attorney-client privilege here. What you tell us is in confidence. Yes, we'll have to go out and build your case, but we will protect you. And the other thing that I want to say is the pattern and practice of this, again, is unprecedented. Over 30+ years of the same sort of events happening, people thrust into the circle reportedly, and horrible things happening to them as a result. And from talking to these people that have come forward these past 10 days, I can tell you unequivocally that because the federal government did what it needed to do and indicted this man, that they put him in jail and a judge kept him in jail they tell me directly, this validates my feelings. For so long, I thought it was my fault. What is it about me that put myself in that scenario? What was I wearing at the time? What did I do to be subjected to such horrific treatment at these people that I was trying to trust? Well, we know now it was not your fault. You were victimized by a group of powerful people that operated for 30 plus years, taking advantage of their wealth and the power that they held within the music industry. So again, thank you to every single person that has come forward and contacted our office over the past 10 days. If you or someone you know suffered the same sort of treatment, please contact us at the number behind me and we will help you. Thank you.
I think it speaks to how important this issue is in the United States and frankly, internationally, that we have reputable people here that want to provide kind of information
agree,
that
Brooklyn.
victims need to hear, witnesses need to hear, public needs to hear. Let me
Okay.
introduce to you now Olivia Rivers from the Texas Association Against Sexual Assault, and let her visit with you a few moments about these types of cases.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Q Olivia Rivers. I am just served my 6th year as the board chair for the Texas Association Against Sexual Assault. I'm also the CEO for the Bridge Over Troubled Waters, which is a local rape crisis center here in the Houston area. So thank you for being here as we address these heinous crimes. Sexual assault is not just a crime of violence against the body. It's an assault on the very essence of human dignity and safety. It shatters lives, it destroys confidence, and all too often, it leaves survivors feeling like they are voiceless, isolated, and vulnerable. The reality for many survivors is that coming forward to report their assault is one of the most difficult and daunting tasks that they will ever have to do. And for some, it may take days, months, or even years to speak up if they ever do. The reasons for this have been mentioned, but include the fear of being disbelieved, being blamed or judged, and of course, retaliation. The trauma of the assault itself being compounded by the trauma of the criminal justice process, where survivors must relive their experience in order to seek justice. And these feelings and fears are further exacerbated when the allegations are against prominent figures in the entertainment industry or Hollywood. Cases involving powerful figures often attract significant media attention, which can deter victims from coming forward due to fear of public exposure or scrutiny. The intense focus on these high-profile cases can make survivors feel that their personal lives are being put under a microscope, causing further emotional distress. These allegations mentioned here today, as reported, reflect deeply troubling claims that deserve thorough investigation, and no individual, regardless of their stature, is above the law or public accountability. Sadly, the statistics paint a very disturbing picture. According to the National Sexual Violence Resource Center, 1 in 3 women and 1 in 6 men will experience some form of sexual violence in their lifetime. In the US alone, there are approximately 463,000 victims of rape or sexual assault every year, and these numbers barely scratch the surface, as sexual violence remains one of the most underreported crimes. But the numbers that follow tell an even more troubling story. Only about 23% of sexual assaults are reported to law enforcement. Of those, just 5% lead to an arrest, and even fewer, less than 1% of reported cases, ever result in a conviction, which is a devastating gap between the crime and the justice that survivors deserve. I want to briefly focus on our state here in Texas. According to the Texas Association Against Sexual Assault, 6.3 million Texans, men and women, will experience some form of violence. That's every 2 minutes someone is sexually assaulted, meaning during the course of this press conference, around 60 individuals will forever be changed by this violence. And those are just a few of the victims. Obviously, this is unacceptable. We cannot allow this cycle of silence and inaction to continue. We have to create an environment where survivors feel empowered to come forward, where they are met with empathy and respect and support, not skepticism and blame. We have to ensure that our legal system is equipped to handle these cases with the seriousness they deserve, and that survivors have access to the resources that they need beyond the legal courtroom. We have to address the root causes of this epidemic: prevention, awareness, and fostering environments where respect, consent, and safety are non-negotiable values. Additionally, support for survivors has to be holistic. They have to have access to counseling, medical services, legal advocacy, and of course, community support, regardless of whether they choose to report or not. To every survivor who has come forward, your bravery is an inspiration. To those who are still grappling with their decision, know that you are not alone and that your voice matters. Your story matters. We see you, we believe you, and we are committed to fighting for a future where sexual violence is no longer tolerated and where justice is not the exception, but the standard. Thank you.
Just keep thinking about that.
With you real quickly before we close here about some specific instances without disclosing the victim's name. You probably know that depending on the age of the victim, you can file these cases, these individual cases, under Jane Doe or John Doe.
All right, trigger warning. Sounds like it's about to get graphic. So if this is the type of thing that's going to have you in distress, step back, take a break. There's no shame in that at all.
Each state is different in that respect. Typically, there is a balancing test, like the public's right to know the name of the victim and plaintiff versus the confidentiality and the safety of the plaintiff. So we'll have to struggle with that with each one of these cases. Our intention, of course, is to, like we always do, file these cases under a pseudonym until the court tells us otherwise. But let me share with you a few, just kind of give you a sense of the kind of cases and the kind of instances that people are calling and reporting that we are trying to corroborate, vet, and these are the ones that we've already corroborated, vetted, and collected evidence on. One individual who was 22 years at the time she was assaulted said that the typical MO at one of these parties that have been widely discussed in the press was that when you were handed a drink, and now we know that the drink is laced with something, if you refused to drink it, you were kicked out of the party. Now, let that sink in for a minute. I mean, the admission to this party was that you had to drink the chosen drink that was handed to you. And now we know that in most cases, I would say 90% of the cases, these individuals were drugged with some sort of drug. That was kind of the MO. Another instance, this individual who was 9 years old at the time was taken to an audition in New York City with Bad Boy Records. Other boys were there to audition as well. All of them were trying to land a record deal. All of them were minors. This individual was sexually abused, allegedly by Sean Combs.
I mean, they've got RICO charges against YSL. Why aren't they doing, RICO charges against the entire label then?
I don't know. I mean, they're there doing that under the guise that they're a gang.
I know, but it's the same concept.
Same concept. It is.
Just different.
I think that they're not an organized outfit. You know what I'm saying?
But
so I think that's like the part with the RICO, because they really did develop RICO in order to go after the mafia,
Right. But if they can expand it, it's the exact same thing. They can.
It is. I mean, unless it's like just a bunch of big money individual celebrities that have really no connection other than the fact that they have money. I don't know. It's a little bit different.
Yeah.
And several other people at the studio in the promise to both his parents and to him himself of getting a record deal. Another instance, another minor told allegedly by Sean Combs that he would make him a star, but he needed to visit with him in private about it, away from his parents. Once they were in a private area, allegedly Mr. Combs made the victim perform oral sex upon him.
Oh my God.
Another incident, an individual 15 years old at the time, flown to New York City to attend a party, was drugged, and then taken into a private room, allegedly in the presence of Mr. Combs, where this female individual minor was raped, and then other individuals took turns raping her.
What the fuck, man?
Another individual, 26 at the time of the occurrence, was picked up allegedly by Mr. Combs and several other people in a black SUV from the airport, was given one drink in the SUV, and then literally woke up the next day not knowing what had happened, but with pain and damage to both her vagina and her anus, where she was she then went to the hospital. She was missing her underwear and her shoes. Another instance, an individual, this time not a minor, attended a group dinner, allegedly with Sean Combs in Miami. She wasn't drinking because she was pregnant, but whatever she drank at the table, apparently, at least according to her, was laced with something. She blacked out, and she woke up in the same bed, again, allegedly, with Mr. Combs in his mansion in Miami. Her vagina and her anus were torn and sore.
Oh my God.
And I could go on. I mean, literally, you're sensing a theme here. It's the same theme.
I don't know that
all
he should be
involves
doing this. It could jeopardize all the plaintiffs' cases.
One instance, an individual
who was
20 years old at the time was asked to attend, just saw her on the street, asked to attend a party in a hotel. She was flattered, went to the party, was given one drink and doesn't remember anything else. Ultimately, was so messed up, went to the hospital where they found cocaine, and this horse tranquilizer in her blood system.
Ketamine?
I'm going to give you a quote from
Maybe.
a very young man who told us over the phone about his experience and all the things that happened to him. He says allegedly at the hands of Sean Diddy Combs and his friends in the effort to try to sign a record deal. This was kind of what he was told he would have to do. His quote is, "Had he not been in power, I feel like I could have been something great. I quit the industry because of what Sean Combs did to me." And that's really what it comes down to. We are pursuing this, asking you to support this effort, to encourage witnesses and victims to come forward and bring your evidence so we can continue to break down this wall of silence and we can continue to have these stories heard. This is the beginning of what I hope to be a national dialogue. This type of sexual assault, sexual abuse, and sexual exploitation should never happen in the United States or anywhere else. This should have never been allowed to go on for so long. This conduct has created a mass of individuals who are injured, scared, and scarred. If you are one of those individuals, we ask you to reach out. If not to us, to someone you trust. If you are someone who witnessed any of these events, we ask you to reach out. Your name can remain confidential. With that, I'll take a few questions, not many, maybe two, but if you have a question, I'll be pleased to try to answer it. Perfect.
How many minors are making accusations in total, and are the feds aware of the allegations of minors in the case?
I don't know what the feds are aware of, okay, but I do know it's 25 out of this 120.
Tony,
I will say this to that point. We welcome the FBI or any authority who wants to come to us, and we're going to make that available to these victims because I think that's important. My suspicion is, based on talking with these folks, is that the FBI is just not aware of these people. The FBI has talked to some of these folks, and I'm going to try to encourage the victims to, in fact, talk to the FBI because I think they have some very important things to say.
Tony, were all of the children auditioning because they were musicians, or were any of them kids of employees or anything like that?
All seeking either TV or some sort of music career with promises of, we're going to make you a star. Instead, basically did things to them such that they don't want to have anything to do with the entertainment industry ever again. All right, guys. Thank you very much for your attention. We're going to go now. Thank you.
Tony, do you anticipate any Houston cases?
Any filed here?
Locally, yeah.
There's a few plaintiffs here, but I don't anticipate filing them here. Probably in New York City.
All right. Brutal. It's just brutal shit. God. Yeah, and you can see it in the chat. I mean, everybody who is following this case, like this thing is the proverbial tip of the iceberg. It's like we're just scratching the surface here. As this thing progresses, people are going to be coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah, and I thought that we were going to get like names and people were going to be called to have to face their crimes with the whole, what's it? The movie producer who killed himself. And then there was like the girlfriend that knew about it. And
what are you talking about? Epstein?
Yeah. And then we never heard any names. We never
I don't think Epstein wasn't a movie producer. I think you're confusing what's his face?
Whatever. Epstein
was the big money guy that had all the politicians and stars out to his
right.
weird
And
little
the
island.
police very well could have followed the money, followed the cell phones, followed the,
It's coming. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, Harvey Weinstein is, I think, who you're thinking
both of them, whoever they are, all of them, all
of them are fucking monsters. And the
civil suits are good because the problem, you don't need beyond a reasonable doubt,
right.
So you can bring in a lot more people. And what's going to hurt these people like forever is their family wealth being gone.
For sure. Generational wealth of this dude. And it's like, the interesting thing about this scenario is that, as the feds typically like work up the ladder, the rungs of the ladder by and ultimately trying to get the big guy, the big fish. Here, they've gotten the big fish. So they're going to be able to flip everybody in terms of trying to get
you think
all their big fish.
Giving all the other names?
Yeah. You know, because it's like, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, typically it's done that they start picking off the lower rungs in order to get them to flip to give, turn state's evidence. And they don't have to do that here. Like they're in a position of power where they've already got Combs.
Yeah, but what's the upside to him to, give
Upside to
names?
whom?
Combs.
I'm not talking about Combs. I'm talking about all the other people when they're going to start digging through all the
Oh, I
discovery and
thought
they're
you
going
were
to
saying
start
that
seeing all
Combs
the
was
other
good.
big, huge celebrities that were at these fucking parties doing shit. It's going to I mean, this thing's going to be insane. Like it's going to the entertainment industry, the music industry this is going to be like
Meanwhile, they're wasting all that
absolute
money on YSL.
shockwaves. Yeah, YSL sitting there, on that bullshit in Atlanta. Like this thing's like a whole another level of crazy. It's like we're just it's like literally just the beginning. Like this thing is going to be like the biggest thing. Like
Well,
ever.
hopefully it's so big and so many people go to jail and so many people have to pay so much money that, even the rich are going to have to stop. They're going to be like, "All right, we can't be perverts anymore because we'll get caught." I don't know.
I mean, that's the hope. That's the hope. All right, I want to here's what we're going to do. All right, so we're going to pivot. I just got two more cases I want to cover like in relatively short order. The trial that we're going to be covering starting next week, and God willing, it's done by Friday. Like when I'm thinking about Sarah Boone's case, like how much shit, like how long can that thing last? It's pretty cut and dry.
Yeah, very cut and dry.
Like I can't
I
imagine.
think they said there was actually a bunch. Now I don't know what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, I don't know. So at any rate, we covered the hearing for the suppression, which I mean, I obviously made a super ingenious prediction that shit was going to get denied hard, which of course it did. Judge issued the order today. So this is so she had come in with the concept of suppressing her statements under the guise that she hadn't been properly Mirandized at the time that she
Is this the judge's order?
This is the judge's order, yeah.
Okay.
So it came down. So it basically said that the court, having reviewed the motion, having reviewed the response, having reviewed the amended motion, having reviewed the second amended motion, having reviewed court file, having considered the testimony and the evidence by the parties, and having considered the arguments offered by counsel for the state and counsel for the defense, this is the ruling. So we got the Boone is charged by way of an information, filed 323 of 20 with a one single count of second degree murder. Yeah.
Nothing. Go ahead.
On February 24th, defendant called 911 after finding her boyfriend, Jorge Torres or George Torres, deceased. Deputy Rodriguez arrived on the 24th, 2020 to speak to the defendant. Copesel, detective, homicide detective with the Orange County Sheriff's Office with 6 years experience, blah, blah, blah. Came in and she was the lead investigator of the Torres' death. And she arrived at the scene within 30 minutes to 1 hour of arriving, was briefed and performed a walkthrough of the apartment. Thereafter, a search warrant was drafted. Copesel made contact with the defendant outside of the apartment for a few minutes and explained procedures of the search warrant. Search was executed with CSI. Defendant's cell phone was collected after CSI documented the scene. Copesel wanted to go through the defendant's cell phone to corroborate defendant's story. Defendant signed a consent prior to the February 24th, 2020 interviews addressed below. Copesel did not look at the defendant's cell phone, including any videos prior to the interviews addressed below, as digital forensics did not arrive until approximately 7 p.m. Copesel then made contact with defendant's ex-husband, Brian Boone. Thereafter, Copesel and Lowen had an interview with the defendant and Detective Copesel's unmarked Nissan Pathfinder at approximately 5 p.m. Detective explained that she wanted to have a conversation with the defendant after walking the apartment. Copesel testified that she would not have interviewed defendant outside of the unmarked vehicle, uh, had no memory of using the words routine. And that evening, everything was explained on the recording. The word routine is not used by Copesol in any recording. So Copesol explained the purpose of the interview, including defendant's prior conversations with Kayla Rodriguez and Detective Copesol, and Detective Copesol's desire to get a further understanding of what happened last night and ask more detailed questions. See State's Exhibit 1. Thereafter, Copesol began reading Miranda as follows. I'm going to read you your rights, but it's just because that's how we do things, okay? So you do have the right to remain silent, okay? Do you understand that? Defendant, yes. Copesol, anything that you...
So pause it. I just want to note, go back up.
Okay. Hold on, I'm going to switch it to scrolling anyway.
So it's, little things like this, because words matter. And I don't necessarily, not making an issue of it with this case, but just like generally speaking, take note. She says, I'm going to read you your rights, but it's just because that's how we do things. Okay. So she's already undermining the rights she's about to read, and not saying it's not because I think you're, you know, it's not because we think that you're involved. It's not because you're being arrested. It's not because you're in custody. It's not because it's your constitutional right. This is just something we do because kind of that's the way we do things.
Right.
So, and I think that is very similar to the words, this is just routine.
Right. I agree. She's she's putting like a modifier on it,
Mhm.
It's like instead of just reading the rights, she's saying, "Oh, well, but like don't worry, I'm going to read you these things."
But they don't matter.
Yeah, that's just how we do
So,
this to everybody, so
and I always, Bob and I both always tell people, I say, look, they're going to get you in there. Like if someone's calling and they think they might be arrested and like might not be able to talk to a lawyer to beforehand again or to know what's happening, I said, all right, they're going to get in there and they're going to either read you from a piece of paper or give you a piece of paper, and they're just going to tell you this is just so we know you understand this. So can you just initial saying that you understand each of these or that you've been told each of these? And I tell them, just take the pen and before you sign your name, write right on there in big bold print. Just act like you're going to sign it. Take that pen. I demand a lawyer, and then sign it. But that's like what they always do, standard. Like this is just so that we know that you understand these things, or we know you've been told these things. They never, make it clear like we're telling you this, and then we need to know, do you still want to talk to us?
Right. Exactly. I mean, which is not really what happened here. I mean, that was the kind of the whole argument. I thought her lawyer kind of shit the bed making the argument, but
Yeah. No, for sure. That's what I'm saying. I'm not like necessarily making it an issue like in this case, but it's an issue. And I think that I honestly do think that it probably went down a lot like she's saying that it did, and that the cops are taking their typical route on things.
yeah, they're liberties.
Yeah.
We're going to take some liberties. Okay, so Copesol says anything you say may be used against you in court. You have the right to talk to an attorney before and during questioning without charge. If you cannot afford a lawyer and want one can be provided to you or for you before questioning without charge. Has anyone threatened or promised you anything to get you to talk? Defendant, no.
So she
Copesol,
also doesn't say you have the right to end this at any time. I don't know if that's like
like a straight up like
in the
Miranda.
written. Yeah, but usually they let people know.
Copesol, do you understand what I just read to you? Defendant, yes. See id. So thereafter, Copesol interviews defendant again after the initial digital recorder's memory was full. A second separate recording was initiated. During the second separate recording, defendant used higher tier words, including compos mentis. See, that's the thing. That's the thing with Sarah Boone. Like, and I like the fact that the judge, because I was just about to say this, I hadn't seen this footnote down there, but the judge knows because he's been dealing with her big ass mouth.
Right, that she's smart.
She's smart. Like, she's not going to be able to cry stupid on this shit. So like the fact that he's putting in a footnote that she's using Latin terms that are, like the typical person's not going to know, shows her level of understanding of what's going on here and where she's at in this process. So defendant that no additional communications occurred prior to the second separate recording, and that Copesol inquired of the defendant prior to asking any other questions. Do you understand that you don't have to speak with me if you don't want to, correct? To which the defendant responded, yes.
Yeah, it pretty much covers everything right
That
there.
pretty much covers it right there.
But
So
it does say that happened after she went through, like, she already did all the questions.
Right, she did. So after concluding the interviews, but before leaving, Copesol had conversations with the defendant about coming to the OCSO the next day to address the pending autopsy, and that Copesol would have more questions. Copesol did not recall speaking about defendant's cell phone, but had the defendant asked about getting the cell phone back, Copesol would not have given a specific time frame for returning the defendant's cell phone, which I think is accurate. I mean, in all our dealings,
I feel like they told her she's gonna come get her cell phone.
I don't know, maybe to draw her in. It's possible. But I mean, there was no chance they were getting
super. I always, think the police are lying and scheming. So take it with a grain of salt, y'all.
You always do think they're full of shit. Copesol had no memory of receiving a call from the defendant on the evening of February 24, 2020, which Boone had claimed that she called.
Yeah, I'm sure she called.
I'm sure she did too. Defendant's testimony largely agrees with Copesol's testimony, including the timeline of calling 911, which, by the way, was a massive mistake for her lawyer just a completely
shit the bed is what he did.
He shit the bed because I mean, at that point in time, we had heard the judge.
The writing was on the wall
twice. Like twice, he had said, like, I'm not granting this piece of shit. So,
right,
you can keep going. And then he puts her on. And then, the only thing that the prosecutor really wants to focus on is her lying about her alcohol consumption. Because now on the stand yesterday or 2 days ago, whenever it was, is saying, yeah, I was drunk. Whereas in the beginning of that interview, she's lying the whole time. I wasn't drinking. I didn't really drink. And then, by the end of that interview, she's like, well, you could hear it in my voice. I was slurring. It's like, it screws her if she ever had intent on getting on the stand, because he's going to impeach her immediately with the video and her testimony. Like you're a liar. Like, how do we believe anything you say? You lie constantly. So defendant's testimony largely agrees with Copesol's testimony, including the timeline of the calling 911, speaking with Rodriguez, and speaking with Copesol. As to the February 20th interviews, defendant confirmed that Copesol explained the general questions would be asked. Defendant confirmed that she stayed on scene for 10 plus hours while the investigation was performed. Defendant's own testimony was that she was under the influence of alcohol from the night before at approximately 10 p.m. the next day. However, there was nothing evidencing defendant being intoxicated or under the influence of alcohol when clearly speaking and interacting with Kayla Rodriguez, Exhibit 1. So defendant's statement of making a call to Copesol between 9:30 and 10 p.m. on the 20th from her ex's home does not line up with the defendant's own timeline of staying at the scene 10 plus hours, which began at approximately 1 p.m. The court finds this statement lacks credibility. Defendant claimed that before they left the scene, Copesol or Lowen would return defendant's cell phone to the apartment on February 25th, 2024. Defendant claims the defendant and Copesol had a discussion regarding the picking up of defendant's cell phone, specifically that due to Copesol's pregnancy, defendant needed to come down to the OCSO to pick up the cell. Defendant's sole reason for traveling to the OCSO was to pick up the cell phone. And then we've got 3. So approximately 1 hour and 27 minutes into the February 25th, 2020 interview, defendant returns to her list of pre-prepared written questions and specifically asks, quote, I am getting my phone back, states Exhibit 1. This pre-prepared written question would not be asked if one was told to pick up a phone. Ooh, the judge.
Yeah. I mean, I
Judge is
feel like I wanted to rewatch that. Was it sure that it was on the list and not just something she said, even though she was looking at the list? I don't know.
You know that you wouldn't have heard it in the hearing. We would have to rewatch the whole interview.
Right.
We listened to it. Like that was a thing that we were listening to when we were in the car on that drive. So the court finds the defendant's statement regarding picking up a cell phone also lacks credibility. On
Here's the thing with the
25th.
damn cell phone, and I know it doesn't matter at the end of the day, but she signed a consent form. If you're gonna sign a consent to let them have your phone, you can bet your ass you're gonna be asking things about, well, wait a minute, when am I gonna get it back? That's very different from when they seize it with a warrant. Then they're just gonna tell you go pound sand. But they want you to consent. You're gonna be asking about the cell phone.
Oh, 100%. And just remember, like always remember that Sarah Boone excels at everything. Okay, so on February 25th, 2020, after Copesel reviewed some of the extraction of the defendant's cell phone by digital forensics and attended the autopsy, Copesel requested the defendant to come to OCSO or OSCO's office. Copesel did not want to approach defendant in front of her child at the ex-husband's home. Defendant's worry and concern about her son was addressed with Kayla Rodriguez. The state and the defense agreed that February 25th, the interview was custodial, which that like, did the defense agree? He kept like, dude,
At
I'm
some
like,
point, he's like, she didn't know that. I'm like,
what? Like, what are you talking about, dude? I'm like, number one, like, why do you keep bickering? The state has just conceded it was custodial. Move on to the second, the second vein of the test. Like you're arguing something that the state has already conceded. So the pith of the defendant's argument is contained in this exchange during the beginning of the February 25th interview. Copesel, just let us know if you need any water, okay? I'm going to have you sit in the green chair. Copesel, appreciate you coming in. Defendant, yes, ma'am. I wanted to ask these questions when we have a moment, referring to her pre-prepared written questions. Copesel, sure. So, obviously, he received the autopsy. I'm going to read you your rights again, because we have to talk about that. And since I'm talking about the incident, we just have to do it, just like we did yesterday. So the court notes that this statement is an accurate statement of law, see right v. State. While Detective Stroop said, this is something that I have to do when giving the Miranda warnings, this is an accurate statement of the law, as law enforcement officers are required to administer Miranda warnings prior to custodial.
So I just want to look at this, okay? She says, all right, so you have the, oh, wait, sorry. Go back up. Okay. So I'm going to read you your rights again because we have to talk about that. And since I'm talking about the incident, we just have to do it. So that second have is accurate. But again, it just shows her sort of typical way of trying to, convince someone not to worry while she's giving them the Miranda warnings.
For sure. I mean, there's no question. I mean, look, cops are trained to try to get people to talk. Like, cops are not thrilled that they ever have to read anybody Miranda. You know what I mean? It's like they're always going to, try to get them to talk. And when they learn kind of slippery approaches to reading Miranda, they use them. I mean, that's just facts. Like, there's nothing better than a confession or to get somebody talking that's, the suspect. Okay, so just like we did yesterday, remember when I read you the rights? Yeah. So Copesel, yeah, it's the exact same thing. But since I'm asking you follow-up questions, I need to read them to you, okay? Defendant, sure. All right, so you have the right to remain silent. Anything you may say may be used against you in court. You have the right to talk to a lawyer before or during questioning without charge. If you cannot afford a lawyer and want one can be provided for you before questioning without charge. Has anyone threatened you or promised you anything to get you to talk to me? Defendant, no. Copesel, and do you understand what I just read to you? Defendant, yes. So this is the analysis, whether the Miranda warning was sufficient. So the Fifth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, Article 1, Section 9 of the Florida Constitution both provide for a right against self-incrimination. The Florida Constitution requires that prior to custodial interrogation in Florida, suspects must be told that they have the right to remain silent, that anything they say can and will be used against them in a court of law, and that they have a right to a lawyer's help. And then if they cannot pay for a lawyer, one will be appointed. Both the Florida Supreme Court and the U.S. Supreme Court have stressed that there is not a talismanic incantation required to ensure that Miranda warnings are sufficiently conveyed. A court does not examine a Miranda warning as if construing a will or defining the terms of an easement, which means that they're, like
They're not very particular on the
right.
exact
They're
word
not
that you use.
parsing every single word.
They just have to convey the rights and make sure the person understands them.
Right. The inquiry is simple: whether the warnings reasonably convey to a suspect his or her rights as required by Miranda. The crucial test for determining whether police give proper warning, quote, is whether the words in the context used, considering the age, background, and intelligence of the individual being interrogated, impart a clear, understandable warning of all his/or her rights. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like the judge, that's why the judge included that little footnote about her using, a little bit of
Right.
throwing a little of the Latin out there.
Yep. So you got cute. Well,
what?
So I was just going to summarize that instead of reading it all. But if you want to read it all,
Summarize it. Like we're
so
doing.
on the footnote, they're just talking about the fact that there are the main 4 warnings that have to be read. A suspect has to be warned prior to any questioning that they have the right to remain silent, that anything they say can be used against them. They have the right presence of an attorney, and if they can't afford one, it'll be appointed. Then they just mentioned in Q that Miranda warnings, you provide them. The ones that they provided on the 25th were sufficient. So you're at R.
Right. Okay, so the Miranda warning given to the defendant in the instant case is identical to the exemplary Miranda warning identified. As such, Miranda warning given to the defendant in this case was sufficient. So then this gets into whether or not it was coerced.
Right. They talk about it's based on the totality of the circumstances. And then where Bob is at they're talking more about, whether there was an overt act, whether they were threatened, a promise of a reward, and, all of those kind of things. Whether the defendant is mentally deficient, especially considering the verbiage used, no threats, delusions, deceptions, or promises. So things like that. And then I can't see V there, babe.
There were no false statements made by law enforcement in order to coerce the defendant to go to the OCSO's office on February 25th. Under the totality of the circumstances, defendant's statements on the 25th were not coerced.
So then they get into whether it was voluntary. They talk about, what voluntary means, and that the state has to prove beyond a preponderance of the evidence that the warnings were waived. Again, they talk about it needing to be a free choice, that there can't be intimidation or coercion, and that, again, by the totality of the circumstances and the surrounding of the interrogation reveals both an uncoerced choice and the requisite level of comprehension, may a court properly conclude that Miranda warnings have been waived. So they talk about the factors. Is there any cajoling or trickery?
Cajoling.
The suspect age, where the questioning took place, and the fact that the interrogation did not secure a written waiver at its onset. They went on to say that the Miranda warnings were administered in a normal tone. There was nothing rushed or urgent about it. The defendant acknowledged that she understood the rights. So all of that played in favor of the state, and I can't see the rest of Z there.
Okay, sorry.
The court reincorporates its findings above, which show there was no trickery or cajoling.
Cajoling.
The defendant's 42 years old at the time she made the statement. She appears normal intelligence. She goes back to the footnote that Bob keeps referencing. That they note that it took place at the police department. There was no written warning, but again, under the totality of the circumstances, the waiver was complete, knowing, voluntarily, intelligently made. Denied.
Motion denied. All right, so it's all coming in, Sarah. You're in deep, deep trouble, lady.
I would have skipped right to the part where they did their findings.
Denied. I know you like to skip shit, which I appreciate. All right, so that's Sarah Boone. If you guys don't know, that trial starts Monday, and we will be live streaming that puppy. All right, last order of business, babe. the last order of business is, let me pull up. I got to get the email. Mandy, thank you for all your hard work.
And I'll have to say here what Bob's looking for that with Dolly's comment. If you're voluntarily intoxicated, but you're obviously intoxicated, no, the police have to wait to give you your Miranda warnings until they know that you can understand them, whether or not it's voluntary, involuntary, if you're observably intoxicated.
Right.
We're always looking for any sort of note. Oh, look, the EMT said they thought she was intoxicated, and then you guys gave her Miranda warnings. What?
Yeah, let's talk more about cajoling. I like cajoling is a great word. All right, so if you guys aren't aware, if you follow Delphi at all, strange occurrence happened today. So if you know anything about the case, if you don't, it's obviously Richard Allen is standing trial for the red rumming of young Liberty German and Abigail Williams back in February 13th of 2017. And that case went cold for 5 years. In October of 2022, they arrested Richard Allen. We have been going through kind of a nightmarish procedural posture. Hey, there she is.
It's very touchy right now.
What is?
The StreamYard. Remember when you were saying like your mouse, you touched something, and I just wanted to answer Winter's question here. Do police have to tell someone they intend to arrest them after questioning? Absolutely not. I keep seeing people in other chats making a big deal about her not knowing she was going to be arrested. No, they do not have to tell them that.
Okay. Good tips. Free legal tips from Allie. That's what we're going to
And
call
they're
that.
definitely going to make you feel like their whole goal is to make you feel like you're not going to be arrested. One of the other things I always tell people, if the police are now looking to question you, one of two things is happening. One, they don't have enough to arrest you already, and they're hoping that you're going to say something. Or two, they have everything they need to arrest you, and they're hoping before they let you know you're about to be arrested that you're going to say something that'll incriminate you.
Indeed. All right. So something somewhat bizarre to me occurred today in Delphi. And while it's not Delphi related per se, it certainly is Delphi.
Oh, you're going to do that right now? I feel like that needs to be its whole own thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a whole thing. Has this even been like a Delphi update? Whoa, whoa, whoa. I don't know. But now we can't deny the people. So, well, let's go over briefly and we will return to them with
Well, all right. So that's what we'll do because Sleuthy sent me all the docs. Thank you, Nicole. I always appreciate you. And it's weird. Okay. So yeah, what we'll do, we won't read the PCA, which is very interesting. Just to give you kind of a primer, because I agree with Allie, we will do a full live on it because I've got long thoughts.
We've got a lot other things, right? There's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah,
we're not going to leave you hanging, right?
No, we're not going to leave you hanging. Right. But essentially, what happened? What's up, Steve-O? Did you get that power going, dude? So essentially, where we're at is today, Officer Todd Click of Rushville Police Department was arrested, and he was charged with multiple felony sixes.
And for anyone who doesn't know, in the Delphi case, this was the other group of detectives who felt that this was, either I don't want to say that they thought it was
they're the three, so there was
whole thing, but whatever. They were following other lines of investigation.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's Ferenczi, Click, and Murphy were the three cops who continued for 2 years until Ferenczi was murdered to investigate into the Odin angle with, the 5 suspects that the defense had wanted to bring in as third-party culprits who Gull has denied them. We first heard Todd
I mean,
Click's
am I
name.
wrong? She did a lot more than just deny them bringing in. She granted their motion that they can't say the words,
Right.
right? I mean, they
Yeah.
can't mention any of this shit. So,
Right.
all right.
So, but Todd Click was, if you remember the Franks memo, which dropped, I think, I want to say, I can't remember if it was September of 22. I want to say that it was September of 22. Going into, or maybe was it no, maybe it couldn't have been September of 22. Was it September of 23? Yeah, I think
No,
I'm
I
gonna
don't
say
know
it
any
was
of this.
September of 23. Maybe. I don't know. September of 23, where are we at? It's because I think, it was September of 23, because then they got booted after so September of 23, the Franks memo drops. It's the bombshell memo with, just like 136 pages or whatever it was. Just, and Todd Click was like the major dude in there. Like, he was the guy that basically was putting his nuts on the line in terms of dealing with all of the other law enforcement agencies in Indiana, as coming in and saying, no, like you just arrested, like, he's the guy who wrote McClelland a letter after they arrested Rick Allen saying, "What are you doing? Like, didn't you get the information I sent you? You're arresting this guy? Like, what does this guy have to do with it?" Like,
right.
He was very much opposed to the arrest of Rick Allen, so much so that he retained his own lawyer to address how to deal with this with law enforcement. So a mere 3 months later, Todd Click, they started looking into him, and ultimately the offense date of 12/21/23 for a felony 6, official misconduct, a public servant knowingly or intentionally commits, and then they cut it off. And then there's another felony 6, which is forgery, defendant with intent to fraud makes or utters written instrument purportedly by other, and then falsifying child abuse, neglect, or information records. What this stems from is not his work as a police officer, but his work for a brief period of time where he worked with Department of Children's Services, and they're alleging that, among other things, is that he was claiming that he made phone calls and went to appointments that he really didn't do in his notes. And obviously, these are all crimes of dishonesty. Obviously, these things, and you have to look at the dates matter here in trying to figure out why they're going after this cop. I mean, if you think that this is a coincidence, then I don't know how to help you. Like, that this is yet another move by the unified command to silence anybody or anything that is being done that is trying to railroad this railroad job of prosecution that's going on. And I say that, and I've said this a million times. I don't know if Rick Allen's innocent or guilty at all, and I won't know until trial to see what the evidence is. But what I do know is that this is a railroad job, that they are doing everything in their power to make sure that they get this conviction.
So, and the
That's what the
reason Bob
railroad job is.
was pointing out that these are crimes involving dishonesty is because when a witness takes a stand, you can't just get in the fact that a witness has been charged with an offense, even convicted of an offense, unless it's offenses involving dishonesty.
Right.
And
Exactly.
that's always admissible. Unless it's too far off in time, like, over 10 years ago or something. But
yeah, it's
double check
just,
that.
let me see. So this is like, I'm just going to pull up a couple more docs because we'll wait.
Right, and
wait
the
for
offense
the-
date on this, I didn't realize this, Bob. They have the actual offense date. They're claiming these offenses occurred in December of 2023.
Correct. Right.
And this was issued. Do you know when this was issued?
Yeah, I'm going to bring it up. So right, so this thing, so they go after him in in December. So like
No, babe. That says the offense date, that the offense
I know, but
occurred.
that means that they're looking into him, right?
Right.
They started investigating him.
Yeah.
So this is the information. Okay.
Oh, good. You got this.
I, the undersigned affiant, do hereby affirm under the penalties of perjury that between December 21 of 2023 and February 15 of 2024 in Ripley County, state of Indiana, Todd Click, a public servant, knowingly or intentionally committed an offense in the performance of his official duties, to wit, forgery and or obstruction of child abuse assessment, contrary to the form of the statutes in such cases. All right. So
And you're saying that this was him acting like he did work he never did.
Correct. And so this thing, you can see the file date. Okay. So we are now 2 weeks out from trial, and they wait until September 26th of 2024 to officially go in, get the arrest warrant, and file charges.
And what's more important, because you could say, well, they were just like investigating still, so that's just, they finished their investigation, and this is the time frame they said the offense occurred. But the docket itself shows an entry back in December, right, babe?
Yes, it does. And so this is the second count, and this is where they said that with intent to defraud, did make, utter, or possess a written instrument in such a manner that it purports to have been made by another person and or by the authority of one who did not give authority, contrary to the form of the statutes in such cases. So, and this is the third, in that he did knowingly or intentionally falsify child abuse or neglect information or records contrary to the form of the statutes. So those are the first three. Essentially what they've done, what they've been able to do here is that they have all but, and I don't know if they were going to be able to call him anyway, but they've assured the fact that he's poison. Like, they can't put him on the stand.
I mean,
there's
you got to balance it. They did it in they did it in Karen Reed. Is it him saying, well, yeah, I can't tell if this is all him. Just the forgery is like, I went to this house and I interviewed these people,
Yeah, like, that's what they're claiming, is that he was essentially making up the fact that he made phone contact with people and that he was going in doing the home visits, that he didn't do either, and that he represented on his reports that he had. So
I'd be interested to know, and maybe we figure it out by all these records or figure something out when we come back, but like how this got reported, or if it just came about by an investigation being, initiated, them deciding to look into it, or if something came up, like some family member, something happened to a kid and a family member was like, this guy, nobody's been out here, no one's called me. You know what I mean? If it came up organically like that, well, then, that could just be really good luck for the state. But then we're dealing with, why wait until 10 days before trial to prosecute,
Correct. And he's got, I think, his first court date on like Monday or something. So what's really interesting about this is that, number one, they wanted to seal the records. Now I opined that that's potentially because of the fact that there could be minors' names listed in there, since it is a DCS
but they're
file.
supposed to just use initials and
But what's really interesting is that they asked him to hold, like, this is the part that I want you to see, which is this particular tab here. If I can get it up. All right, so they for whatever reason, so they arrest him. Okay, so this was, I think he was brought in today or yesterday.
27th day of September.
But that's when this was signed. Okay,
Right.
so I don't know when they actually picked them up. I think but so they have him hold him without bond. Okay, so he's currently in jail.
Without bond?
Hold without bond, meaning like typically, like on this type of charge, like Osbrook was telling me, like in Indiana, they'll typically, like, this would be a $2,500 bond that you can bond out at the police station. What they say when to hold without bond is they're going to hold them in until they can get in front of a judge.
Right.
And then the judge is going to
set
bond. But it's keeping him in over the weekend. And
was he picked up today?
I think he was picked up today.
We always tell people Friday's arrest day. But nowadays they really do bond calls like virtually on Saturdays. And I mean, I don't know about this county specifically, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the way that it looks to me is that he's not getting in front of a judge until Monday. So, I mean, it's crazy to me.
Friday's arrest day, people. Friday is arrest day.
And I mean, you can kind of like let your mind go anywhere you want it to in terms of the motivations behind this. I mean, it's strange. It's just another strange occurrence in a series of very, very strange occurrences. So,
and when we come back, we're going to have some more details for you guys. We'll try to figure out how this, all came about, and go over some more documents.
Well, we're going to go through the PCA the next time we have it. So, and this final thing that I'm going to show you is like, this is his attorney, who filed a motion to set bond. Okay. So that was, filed today. So that confirms. So comes now the defendant, Todd Click, by his counsel, Paul Barada, requests the court for a hearing to set bond in this matter. It's earliest convenience. The defendant would inform the court that there currently is no bond in this matter. For the reasons above, counsel respectfully requests for the court for an order setting a hearing to set bond herein. So, I mean, the lawyer did all he could do, in terms of trying to get in there, and that was filed today. So, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's, I find the timing highly suspicious.
Highly suspicious.
Yeah, it's highly suspicious. So, yeah, maybe I'll go live tomorrow. Maybe I won't. Just depends. But I don't know. It's like the case that never sleeps, and trial is looming, and we really need to get to trial on this thing with everybody intact. And it's a lot. It's a lot. And
we got some other things brewing for you guys too on Delphi. So hopefully we'll be coming at you soon with it.
Yeah.
That's all we're gonna say.
Yeah.
That's all we're gonna say about that.
That's all I have to say about that. So, all right, you guys, it's been a good 2:45. We appreciate all the support, all the love from.
Don't forget to hit the thumbs up on your way out. Share, like.
Yes,
do all the
Meg P,
things.
gifted 15. We love you so much. Todd, he's back, baby. Power, we're so glad. Shans came in, became a member. Jay gifted 5. We appreciate you. Laura, long time 6-month member. We appreciate you. Terry came in with a $10 holla. Precoscent member for 8 months. We adore you. And then Wendy came in with a $2 holla, and then Afton. So we appreciate all of you guys.
All of you. Thank you.
We really do. And we will check you guys on the flip, because without y'all, I'd just be an old man.
Talking about a lot of cases.
Woo! Out.
Hot sun.